So today we are going to discuss diffusion of innovation and incentives, different kinds of incentives, portfolio of incentives. And I'll bring some economics today, little bit, to understand what are the transaction costs, ex ante transaction cost and ex post transaction cost, so that you can appreciate the need for accommodating or assimilating these costs in your strategies for diffusing innovations that you develop, either as a part of a thesis or in your lab. Many times you have wonderful solutions in the lab, but they don't go anywhere because we have not recognized the transaction costs that users, potential adopters, have to bear. So we'll discuss that also. We'll discuss a portfolio approach to incentives for you and for the people. For you, what kind of incentives will help you to not just stop at developing solutions, but also taking them to society, which of course is a little extra effort, not little, quite a bit of extra effort. And many times after publishing papers, good papers, we think our job is done and we move on. And the result is that out of 10,000 patents that CSIR has, and not to mention about non-patented technology, which are maybe 20,000, these remain stuck somewhere and don't go very much far. But some do. In aroma emission, as you know, CSR did wonders. Similarly, CLRI had done wonders when there was a problem of a ban on certain dyes and leather processing industry. 700 units had been shut down in Tamil Nadu. And Dr. Ramaswamy was at that time CLRI director. He and his team developed solutions within about 6-7 months and found a new way of using dye without causing the environmental pollution. So there have been times when under emergency conditions, CSR labs have developed solutions. That's necessary.
এই যে দেখো বুড়া বুড়া
So it's very important that we look at that aspect. We will also look at the role of motivation. What kind of motivation influences us? And then we are going to meet 4 innovators today in the second part of the session who have developed different kinds of solutions. I'll come to that at 6:30. And if we take a little extra minute, 2 moments extra, bear with that. These are 4 innovators, and I would like you to ask them questions, explore further, and in case you can help them in any way, please do consider. Before I start, let me also say that tomorrow we will discuss the public policy issues. Most of you do not realize maybe enough that the solutions, very painstakingly, the solutions that you develop also need advocacy for policy changes. And please switch on your videos. Gaurav, Santosh, Harpreet, all of you should switch on your videos, please. Bharat and on other pages, I'm not going, but everybody should switch on. Gaurav, Vikas, Dennis, Nikhil, Chitrakshi, Nikita, please switch on your videos. It doesn't look nice if I talk to blank screen. That's absolutely not very motivating for me. And we are going to talk about motivations for you. So it's better that we remain mutually motivated. You should be motivated and I should also be motivated. So we will discuss. My colleague, Dr. Namika, has sent you a few projects, but I'll send you a few more later. And these are just illustrations. They are not the models. You can do much better and much deeper. But the idea was that since some of you wanted to have a look at, we thought we'll just circulate some. And the recent rice husk one, which I had mentioned, I think from Miri, was the one that had gone to the field also. All right, Priya, doesn't matter if your camera is not working. So let's begin. Before I start, would some of you like to mention the key barriers which come in the way of diffusion of innovation developed by all of you? Just mention few barriers that you think come in the way. Anyone can unmute and start, so that when I discuss various models, you will find them relevant. What are the key barriers? Okay, Monica. What are the key barriers? Do you agree there is a problem that solutions don't go as far as they can and they should? Do you agree with that is a problem? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Then tell me, what are the barriers? What are the roadblocks? What are the obstacles which come in the way of all of us as a scientific team to take these solutions ahead? What are the barriers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just mention.
Collaboration, cross collaboration from experts of different fields.
Good point. So I'll keep writing them down on the slide so that you can all see later. Okay.
Sir, money, finances.
Cross collaboration with other disciplines.
Lack of information.
Information about what?
Literature things. For example, I need to know some solutions for some thing I want to see in the internet, but maybe it is not available. Maybe due to patenting things and all, it is not widely available in the internet.
No. We are discussing barrier. You have developed the solution now. You have developed the solution, but this solution is not going to the users, whether industrial users or the social
So there will
community
be
users.
connectivity
So what
between
is
the researcher and the MSMEs and all those things. Probably that
Sir,
will
money,
be.
finances.
Yes.
Finance, money.
Finances are written down. Let me just keep it. I don't know whether to work with that, but I can keep writing and you can keep seeing. Let me see. Can you see that, my screen? Connectivity with the MSME,
Yes,
all
sir.
right. What else?
Yes,
With
sir.
Okay, what else?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what else?
Administration.
What in administration? You have to be more precise than that.
Administration which is responsible for implementation of the same solution.
No. As a scientist, you are responsible, isn't it? You have developed a solution and you want to get it, let it go, or you want to encourage its adoption by the potential users. Potential user could be industry, it could also be farmers, it could be small entrepreneurs, it could be public sector, it could be anybody. So what should administration do so that you can succeed in your mission? What specific help are you seeking from administration? Is it that they should facilitate the communication? Finance already has come.
Sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I feel
Bolo, madam.
communicating science to policymaker is the one which we need to focus on. Like that may be the major barrier.
So
Communicating
that
science to
they
policymakers.
support the diffusion of your solutions, right?
Yes,
Very
sir.
good point. Very good point. In fact, we will discuss some examples tomorrow, but it's a very good point. What else should we
Thank you,
do?
sir.
What else should we do? What else are the barriers? What else are the difficulties because of which you want to take? I mean, I'm assuming that all of you want your solutions to go to people. On that, I have no doubt in my mind. But what is holding it back? What is holding it back? What should we do to ensure that
Sir, lack
बोलिए।
of awareness, lack
Awareness
of
of what?
awareness,
Of what?
awareness of putting their usefulness of our work to the common man,
So,
like publicizing.
so inability to make potential users aware of the merit of your solution.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what you are saying, it is a modification of the first point. You were saying that communication to the policymaker, but communication also to the user, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What else?
Sir, lack of marketing abilities of our solution so that it could reach the current consumers.
हाँ, सही कह रहे हो. Lack of marketing ability with the scientist, you mean?
Sir, a scientist as well as the masses which will get affected for both.
No. Lack of marketing ability with the scientist and let us say, and the licensees of your solution. Is that what we are saying?
Yes, sir, licensee of the solution. But sir, if it's a simple solution like developing medicinal plants,
It's a
herbal
DIY
plants,
solution,
then
do
it,
it yourself.
yes, yes, sir, then it will be the people itself, those who are getting affected and those who are using it. So the
No,
marketing,
so you are saying the marketing intermediaries like nursery managed people or farmers who are selling these plants. Is that what you mean?
yes, sir, definitely.
Okay.
The common masses who are trading with these special type of goods. So we need to market them too, as well as the scientists.
Okay. So intermediaries who can market solution to the masses. Because you can't go to everybody, but you can go to some, and they should then market it to the rest, isn't it? Right. What else are
Yes.
what else are the bottleneck?
Sir, hesitancy among the users, just like vaccine hesitancy people have, if there is a new product, then the users may be afraid about the about the side effect, or they may have various concerns. So it may be due to from the user end also.
Very good point. You're right. There is always what we can call in the adoption curve, there is always a stage of awareness. After awareness, you will try. Some people will try, but some will wait for others to try. And after looking at the effect or the feedback of those who have tried it, then they will take a step. So hesitancy is a very major reason, is a major factor that slows down the diffusion. What else? What else? Put yourself as a user and find out what are the factors that prevent you from adopting a new idea or a new solution, or prevent you or make you hesitant. Think of it. You have to mention when you say sustainability, what is the challenge? I mean, are you saying then discontinue it? They don't continue with it. They're not. So there is a problem in sustaining the transformation, sustaining the change. All right, that's a problem which comes in many solutions. After some time, people stop them. The sustainability of adoption process. Okay, what else? What else? What else? You see, there is a concept. Boli, please go ahead.
Regulatory support.
The support?
Regulatory bodies.
Very true, very true. That sometimes consumes a great deal of energy. regulatory approval and support. Sometimes you have the regulatory approval, but even then your product doesn't go very far. That's a different matter. But yes, this can also be a reason for delay or a slowness. Anybody else?
Proper government policies.
Can you illustrate? Yes, there's a relevant point, but just illustrate a point.
The government should enable and help us to the researchers to
So
implement
put
the
it this way.
inventions.
Let me illustrate. Many states have banned use of very thin plastic bags, correct? Uttarakhand has done it. Himachal Pradesh has done it. Some people, states like Gujarat have also done it, but they may not enforce it as much as some other states do. Now, let's say you have developed a bioplastic. And bioplastic, a plastic be developed from biological material, for example, maize starch, rice starch. They have been used for ages. Cassava has been used for ages for making bioplastic. Now, bioplastic is a costly process compared to the fossil fuel-based plastic. So one possible way to encourage adoption of this will be that you have less taxes on its manufacturing process, number one. Number two, you can even subsidize its use because it is saving your environmental problem and sanitation problem, hygiene problem. So a lot of pollution that is taking place in the country, causing, many irrigation channels to get choked, rivers are getting choked, fish are getting choked, animals are eating this plastic. All of those problems that you have can be reduced, minimized. So you can incentivize, public government can incentivize the use of bioplastic in packaging and carrying different things to your home. So that is a case where public policy has to be supportive. And it's good that you mentioned this because tomorrow we would like you to work on some challenges that you will bring. And we will try to list down what are the public policy support that you need, who will you write to. And I would even encourage you to write actually to some people, secretary, additional secretary, or other people who are handling those problems, asking for those changes. So it is not that we will just discuss it, the matter. Tomorrow we are going to make you write to the concerned policymakers. They may not reply,
Yes, sir,
but
we are
mark the
planning to do a societal work in this regard only here
very
for
good, very
plastic
good.
waste management.
So it's good. So what I would like then is that when you develop, you must also ask yourself what kind of policy support you will need. And then don't wait. Don't think that first let me develop a solution, then I will ask the policymaker. No, simultaneously alert them that, look, this is the project we are doing. We are quite confident of doing this at a lesser cost than what other people have done it, and mention 2, 3, 4 examples of entrepreneurs who may have done it before you, and there are many examples. And then mention that we will do it at a lesser cost than them, lesser cost than maybe Chinese who export to us bioplastic and biological material based plates and crockery. A lot of material comes from China. And you can say that you can do it at lesser cost than that. And but these are the incentives you will need. And public procurement, for example, at all public functions, you would like to government to use only that crockery. So, for example, Vibrant Gujarat is going to take place in January 10 to 14 or something, or 16. And you can say Gujarat government should buy only bioplastic-based, biomaterial-based crockery and not other crockery. And government may accept it, may not accept it, doesn't matter. At least you will write to Chief Minister and mention, they will ask a question, can you supply in that quantity? We will need 10,000 people will come every day. And that's the next question then. You will have to then find out how you tie up with the manufacturers who can use your technology and manufacture. So it's a good point, supportive public policy. What else are the barriers? What are the barriers? That's a very good point, Srijit, that sometimes consumers wait for version 2, 3, or 4. But you must remember that there are some consumers only who will wait, many. So if Windows 15 or if iPhone 15 is coming, People did not stop buying 11, 12 and other versions that came in between because they couldn't have waited that long. So it is better. It is important, but some consumers will wait, but many will buy. So, but the point is valid. Some point is valid that sometimes consumers wait, and that can affect the adoption. Any other point before we proceed further? Complementary asset is another issue. Let's say you have a technology in agriculture. Let us say you have developed a machine in CMARI or CSIO, which requires heavy, either tractor or heavy built bullocks. And I have small bullocks whose ability to draft or pull the animal machine or the plow is limited. Tropiculture was developed by AcSIR. Millions of dollars they spent in developing tropiculture, but nobody used it because tropiculture required very heavy built Ongole breed bull. How many people in this country have Ongole breed bulls of that power? So tropiculture never went anywhere. It did not get its use. I'm talking about 25, 30 years ago they developed this. A ridge and furrow tool for making ridge and furrow system for agriculture. So there are examples where the resources that people have and the requirement it will have for us to work with them, for our solution to fit into that, does not match. I mentioned earlier in one of the sessions that during COVID, large number of people did not have smartphone. So naturally, online teaching will not reach them. So the lack of complementary asset. Online teaching cannot become a mainstream system of educating during such period when some places 60%, 50% people did not have a smartphone, or if they had only one, and they have 3 children. So these problems policymakers will have to realize and then find solutions using radio, for example. Radio is much cheaper than broadcasting the message through internet. And 50 rupees, you get a medium wave radio. You can provide free radio to everybody, in fact. And everybody can then listen to the educational program. And you can give a toll-free number at which they can write, call, and get clarification. So we have to think of other ways in which our solutions will diffuse. I'll stop this discussion here. We can come back and let's proceed. But it's very useful that you mentioned these ideas. I'm sure you will be able to appreciate much better the remaining ideas that we will go through. So let's look at next point, which is, should scale become the enemy of sustainability? Now, this is a paradoxical statement. On one hand, we are saying we want to diffusion of innovation. And on the other hand, I'm saying, but we don't want that everything should diffuse only by, everything will be useful only if it diffuses. But if it goes to small places, it will not. In mountain regions, you have valleys, you have peaks, you have different kinds of topography. Naturally, one valley is different from another valley. No two valleys are alike because of the light aspect, drainage, soil, biodiversity, etc. Now, if you develop some varieties which grow well in some valleys but don't grow in other valleys, then should we develop those varieties or not develop varieties? If we don't develop varieties that will have limited diffusion potential, then people of those regions, those microhabitats, those niches, will remain unserved. So while we need solutions that scale up, we also need solutions that serve the remote communities, limited population in different regions. For example, Lahore Spiti. Now, those of you who come from Himachal would know, and we have had Shodhyatra there, so I know. In Lahore Spiti, it is a famous place for potato seed. It's almost disease-free and gives you very good. That seed then goes to a large number of other places. It's a niche area, and it may not have very large scale for cultivation, but it has a very useful contribution to the seed production. So that's why we should not always think that innovations which don't diffuse to very large area are not useful. It depends. What problem are they solving? Supposing one disease affects only 10,000 people, whereas another disease affects 10 million people. Will we say that a medicine for 10,000 people, disease that affects 10,000 people, should not be developed because only 10,000 people are affected? Let us wait till 100,000 people get affected. That will be a perverse argument, isn't it? Morally completely unjustified. So that's why rare diseases or diseases that occur to few people do not get attention from the policymakers and scientists as much as widely prevalent diseases. And again, within the widely prevalent diseases, the diseases that don't occur in Western countries, European countries, they don't get as much attention as the diseases compared to the diseases that happen their countries. So TB, malaria, which are not the problem of temperate region, but tropical countries, don't get much attention there. So we have to be very careful that while we like to study diffusion, sometimes you don't diffuse the solution, you diffuse the method of developing solution. So we'll see this question. It's a paradox. Let it remain with us for a while. We'll see how we handle it as we proceed. Now, we were talking about incentives. We'll discuss more as the session proceeds. But please remember that I have mentioned this before, that we have, each one of us has to choose our own North Star, Dhruv ka Tara. And this star has to be discovered by us. Nobody else will give us a goal, larger goal in life that will propel us for trying to do our best and extract every ounce of energy from ourselves. Now, it is that star, that North Star, that is pulling us up and developing those and giving us that energy. It is not an outside incentive. So the most sustainable incentive, in my view, are the ones that we generate from within, from ourselves, because then we are not dependent on our professor or our outside agencies or science council or associations or whatever have you to recognize us. We don't care so long as we are able to achieve things that we want to achieve for our own happiness, Swante Sukhai, for our own happiness. Now, we have looked at there are different kinds of innovations: open, closed, DIY, IP protected, complex, simple, disruptive. Now, when phone came, what happened? What did it disrupt? The smartphone? What did it disrupt? Two things it disrupted very many.
Camera. Sleep.
Camera, correct. And what else?
Sleep,
And
sir,
what
sleep.
else? And what else? Camera, yes. One more.
Watch.
Watch. Absolutely right.
Yes.
Absolutely
PCs,
right. So two things got disrupted. We don't carry watch anymore because we see the time in the phone, and we don't carry camera anymore because the phone cameras are reasonably good. So two things got disrupted by one solution. And therefore, this is a disruptive innovation. Incremental innovations will be, there are 10,000 models of phone, maybe some have little feature extra, some other have other features. Those are incremental changes. And many times incremental changes are also useful, but maybe not as much. So for example, the remote control for the fan, I recently got installed some in my home. Now it's an incremental improvement. I won't call it a disruptive innovation, isn't it? You can switch, you had remote for television, you had remote for many other things. Now you have remote for fan also. Nothing very spectacular, simple. And it helps you because if you're lying on the bed and you want to change the speed of the fan, you don't have to go to the regulator if the switch is a little far, and you can change it. Sometime early morning, it becomes cooler and you want to switch off. You don't have to disturb your sleep. Just press the button and it gets off. So therefore, there are advantages of such incremental innovations also. There are architectural innovations which change the whole platform completely. And AI is one such innovation which is changing the structure of information management in many areas, very wide area. Diagnostic, it is changing. Communication, it is changing. Writing, it is changing. Reviewing of literature, it is changing. So it's an architectural disruption, that is, it's changing the way we did a lot of other things, though there's a danger in it. And as you know, European Union is the UK is the first country which has developed a policy, institutional policy for regulating the development of AI, so that, many times AI is also used to create deep fakes. I mean, you can have Obama's duplicate, so to say, speaking almost like as if Obama is speaking, or Prime Minister is speaking, or Home Minister is speaking. Whereas they're not saying anything. It is just a generative AI which has generated those kind of videos which create deepfakes. So though they are very difficult to isolate, identify whether genuine or fake, and it creates misinformation, it creates a lot of problems. So there are a lot of risks involved in each technological change. We also look at product, process, service, and system. It is not enough to have product. We should also have a process to use it. We should have a service system to manage it, and a system overall to look at the entire value chain. And there are many other factors that are mentioned here. I will move forward and discuss. Now, this is one of the simple diagram to tell us the difference between potential user, desirable user. Ideally, the actual user should be the one who has potential to use the technology and also is belonging to the desirable category. Now, how do we do that? Not everybody who is desirable category has the potential to use it. You have, let's say, technology which requires sufficient solar cooker, for example. Now, solar cooker of the conventional design will work with those who have space to keep solar cooker in the open sunlight and move it up manually, of course, to cook. So it will not go to the people in the buildings till Big Chakravarti, Chakku as they popularly called in IDC, Industrial Design Center, IIT Bombay, developed a window, like a window air conditioner, a window kind of solar cooker. So it protrudes outside the window. And if you have a window on the solar side, or you're living in a multi-story building, you don't have an open space, but you have window. Now it will go out of the window, insert out of the window. Inside the room, you will have a dashboard, just like an ordinary air conditioner. Put the tray inside, cook your food. And now even those users who did not meet the potential conditions of use for conventional solar cooker can use this. So you see, you can change the design conditions of the innovation by to bring in more users as actual user potential, as more users to have potential to use it than conventionally understood. So we can't always feel constrained that many of our potential users, let's say small farmer or small consumer, class 1, class 2 employees, let us say, who have very limited disposable income, they will not be able to use it. We can try to find solutions that can fit their need, and that can then be very useful. So this is about externally induced model and internally induced model, whether we can have intermediary organizations that diffuse, or we diffuse it through public-private agencies, through public media, private media, different kinds of agencies. And let's see, we will see a model that I developed way back, more than 40 years ago. It's an interesting model, and you might find it interesting because it helps to give you different kinds of communication strategies. So you have communication and power. Power is one way, two way, no way. And communication is also one way, two way, no way. So when you have one way communication, one way power, it is a very authoritarian system. I'm telling you, do this, and this is what you will do. You have no choice. You have no degree of freedom. That's very authoritarian system. Of course, none of us will like that, but sometimes that's a model that you have. So many times in armed forces, for example, what our commanding officer instructs, the soldiers have to obey it. They have no choice. They cannot argue at that time. Before strategy development, if commanding officer takes feedback, that's a different matter. But once there's a command, it becomes a command and control system, authoritarian system. No argument about that. Two-way communication, two-way power and one-way communication. That's not possible, because if there's a power, there will be some communication. If there is no power either way, but there is one-way communication. So these are the tom-tom beater or street singer. They are communicating message, but they can't change the message. They have no power to modify the content, or they don't have the choice of delivering it to some and not delivering to others. They're supposed to tell this to everyone in the village. They will tell to everybody in the village or the society, wherever they are. So you have a model where you have no power, but you have to communicate. And you are not able to, the user cannot tell you or ask you questions about it. The meeting is at 5 o'clock, everybody should come to the village or the town council. Now, people can say, by 5 is not convenient to me, can I come at 7? This person has no power to change this. He has to give you the desired message. You can have then two-way communication and one-way power. These are training centers where teachers have the power, although we take feedback from the students, but teachers are the power. I mean, sometimes teachers can act as heavy-handed. I mean, I'm not using a strong word here, but many of us in the role of teacher can be very authoritarian sometimes. That's unfortunate. But the fact is that power to grade is with me, or let's say as a teacher, but I'm going to take your feedback. Then the most ideal case will be two-way communication, two-way power. So our students may, after every course, evaluate the faculty. And that evaluation goes to the entire institute. So everybody know, and I have to prove myself every year after every course, no matter how long I have taught. Now that's empowerment of two-way. I mean, students have the power to run me down if I'm not teaching well. And I have the power, of course, to give them grades as per their entitlement. And both sides have power and both sides are communicating to each other. And it is an open system, open communication. The grades are known to everybody, but also the feedback is known to everybody. The driver, the peon, the clerk, the secretary, everybody knows how has Professor Gupta taught this course this year compared to last year, or compared to other faculty members, or other courses, etc., etc. So this is a good system in my view. It keeps us all in check. You don't take anybody for granted, and you play the game as it should be. But if there is no power either way, but you still have two-way communication, that's called collegial learning, peer learning. So in peer learning, you don't have power on each other. You have an idea, other person gives a feedback, he has no control over you, you have no control over that. This is the heart of academic institution where we can be empowered by the collegial learning. And of course, when there is no communication either way, but there's a power of silence. I can keep quiet. People ask me, what's their view? And I don't speak up. That's also power. Or I have no power either way, but there's no communication also. It's an indifference. Nobody cares about anybody. So these are just some typologies. You can modify them. Anybody wants to comment on it before I proceed further? Any comment, any critique? Any category that you would like to add or delete? Two-way communication, two-way power was what Gandhian philosophy also emphasized, and what at one time, long time ago, Mao Zedong was talking about mass line concept, where brigade will have power over the commune and commune will have power over the brigade. They actually did not do that, but at least in his red book, he mentioned about that. So both the most non-violent leader, Gandhi, and also Mao, at some stage, in conceptual terms at least, they mentioned how the community can have power of the state and state can have power of the community. I have mentioned this.
Professor,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think here after this we could bring in the diagram where there is a zone where we influence. There's a zone where we can want to manipulate, because power is sometimes you can influence but you cannot act. Like they said about the administration, right? So they can influence the administration, they can speak to them, but they cannot do their work. So there is a demarcation between power, which is with me to act or take decision on, and there is a power where I can influence but I cannot act. So I think
So I think I should make that diagram which you're saying. I hope I can do that. How do I do that? Draw. You're referring to the three parts of the environment, isn't it? So
yes,
there are three parts. I understood what you're saying. So here, how do I do that? I can insert the text. Okay. So here I can only appreciate. Can I type it here? Or I will write, okay. So I can only appreciate this part. The environment is divided into 3 parts. I can influence this part. And I can manipulate this part. Thank you, Anamika, for reminding this very important distinction. So it is not that we are completely helpless in any situation. There are certain sections, certain part of environment which you can just take note of. How much it rains here, I cannot influence it, I cannot manipulate it. I have to take it as given. This is an environmental factor. I can't do anything about it. Can I change the rainfall of Delhi or Ahmedabad? No, I can't. I can influence, and this is the point that Anamika mentioned, that you can influence bureaucracy, you can influence the opinion leaders, you can influence the, there are so-called influencers on social media who have large following and are able to convey this thought to large number of people. And then there are things that you can manipulate. You can change the color of your liquid. For example, there was a student of mine who did thesis with me many years ago on biofertilizer. And he found that the biofertilizer, which had a dark carrier, black or brown colored carrier, compared to the another company which made it a golden color carrier, the microorganisms have to be put on a carrier. And the dark farmer did not like the dark carrier. Effectiveness was higher, but the color was not something which was going well with the farmers. The golden one was less effective, but was selling more. So you can manipulate the color. That's in your hand. So those kind of variables are in your hand. And I think it's a good point that we should remember. All right, let's go further. This I mentioned before, but I don't think we need to go too much detail. But please understand that when we communicate solutions, we shouldn't communicate only the solutions. We should also communicate the principles underlying the solution. Let me give an example. So let us say scientists will tell, sow mustard by 15th of October. No, that is not the advice we should give. Yes, we should mention what is the temperature that mustard likes when it is sowing time, what is the humidity, and mention that it may happen around 15th October, but if somehow 15th October is little more hot or little less hot, less cold, wait for some time when the temperature and the humidity are right, because this otherwise the crop will not be as good. So we need to keep that in mind. Now, this diagram, I may have discussed it, but we'll go into next one because we have time. This is the famous Rogerian framework where there are some people who adopt early, there are some people who adopt late, there is a vast majority which is late majority, and then there are laggards who do not adopt much. The market share keeps on increasing. Now look at this way. What is the problem with this model? The problem with this model is it's a behavioral model. It does not take into account that I can be early adopter of, let us say, smartphone, and I can be late adopter of chimney in my kitchen. I'm telling you my own example. I am an early adopter of many solutions that I use. And I have a smartphone, I have an iPad, I have this, that, a lot of gadgets. But I have still not got installed the chimney. I'm still selecting the one. I mean, I'm taking a lot of time, whereas it is required very much in the kitchen. So I'm a late adopter there. So it is not that the person who are early adopter in all solutions. In some solutions, they're early adopter. Some solutions, they're late adopters. People who grow rice, traditional variety of rice in Kharif, grow Mexican variety of wheat in the winter. Same farmer. So please understand that all of us are not having unified behavior when it comes to adoption of solution. This is where Roger went wrong, because he tried to make people as endemically early adopter. That's not true. For different solutions, our behaviors is different, and that's we should keep in mind. So therefore, when you try to influence my behavior, let us say that I should use what solution that you have developed. It may be aromatic oil that you have developed, or it may be a variety that you have developed of lemongrass, or it may be a graphene material which I should use in my industry, graphene oxide for coating some materials, whatever it is. You need to understand my behavior vis-a-vis that sector and try to incentivize me in one way or the other. We will see now later how I will move towards the decision that you want me to take. So when it comes to diffusion of innovation, it is not purely behavioral. It could be institutional, it could be cultural, it could also be sometimes influenced by the cultural factors such as religion also. You know, that certain kind of food. I mean, there are people, let's say, in some places you have got menu which has Jain menu, and there are then vegetarian menu, and then there are vegan menu. Nowadays, that distinction is coming up because customers are dividing themselves into those categories. 10 years ago, you didn't have a vegan menu. Today you have. 10 years ago, you may not have a Jain menu, but today you have because the customers are asserting their preference, and therefore the supplier of the solution, be it food or whatever else, has to accommodate that. So we need to be in touch with the market reality, changing consumer preferences, consumer behaviors. And it could be anybody. It could be a retail consumer. It could be a company which wants to take my technology, and what is happening in that sector. How the technologies are changing in that sector will have to be taken into account. So for example, electric vehicle, the way it has diffused, number of manufacturers are very large, and the market is becoming exponentially growing. If you look at just last 4 or 5 years, you can see how many electric vehicles have come. Earlier, you would find rare. Now it is very widely prevalent. So that's an example, because customers are becoming conscious of climate change. They're becoming conscious of their own their own climate footprint, and they also find it economical, and they don't have to go too far. So therefore, they go for now. And what has government done? Government has given a different kind of number plate. You know that, isn't it? Number plate of e-vehicles.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, government is also trying to say that these vehicles should have a different way of treatment by the state, by the police, and all of that. Now, this is just a diagram. I will make it in full screen so that you can see it better. This is about factors which are inhibitory and which are supportive. So there are factors which my endowment, I can't change. You can't change my endowment. What kind of machinery I have, what kind of workforce I have, whether my workforce is skilled enough to use your technology, you will have to see. So then you will say you will not transfer technology, you will also do skill development. Only then it will work. And inhibitory factors, gender, modularity, institutional factors, attitude, seasonalities. There are a large number of factors which could be influencing my decision to adopt the solutions. And we'll come to the incentives later. Whereas the discontinuance is very important. Many times we do the study of adoption, we forget discontinuance. So my example, early adopter and early discontinuer. People who adopted a solution within 3 months of its introduction, but then they also rejected within 4 months or 5 months. Now, when you go to them after 6 months, you say, are you using this? They say, no. You call them as non-adopter, but actually they were early adopter and early discontinuer. So your data is wrong. You have got the wrong inference because you did not take into account those who tried and then rejected a product rather than those who didn't try and didn't therefore adopt. These are two categories get mixed up in our way of asking questions and surveys that we do about adoption of technology. So please understand that a lot of studies on adoption suffer from this mistake and this inadequacy, that they do not distinguish the adoption and early discontinuous, as against late adoption and late discontinuous, or late adoption and early discontinuous. When we adopt late, that means I'm looking at the experience of others, learning from it, then making my decision. But then I'm not happy with it, I stop it. So during COVID, we learned a lot about how innovations evolved simultaneously in different parts of the world. I will leave it. This is long tail of innovation we discussed before, but I'll just mention that some innovations diffuse widely and some go to less, and less. And this long tail implies that various solutions will fit various niches, and that's part of life we should be remembering. So there are some niche-based unmet need, and solutions will have to be developed that the incentives will be required for solutions that are serving local. Moderate diffusion potential, easy to modify and maintained by users. Word of mouth is very important. And then, of course, diffusion of the DIY solutions. Many of you mentioned that if it's a solution free, you just adopt this practice and you will do well. Now, many times we don't. So many of you know that ginger extract with honey is good for throat. How many of you have actually done that? You have bought the tablet which has 90% sugar, isn't it? Shubhashri, have you extracted ginger juice and mixed with honey yourself? Huh? I'm just giving an example that many times we know the solution, but we prefer to have a ready-made solution rather than do it ourselves. Those solutions which require effort by the users and they are in their interest, many times don't get adopted easily. So in TB, this problem happened that many users, when they started improving, they didn't continue with the treatment. And that gave rise to AMR, antimicrobial resistance. The microorganisms became resistant to the drug. And the result was the antibiotic resistance, and they became difficult to control. So the people who got infection later were more difficult to treat than the ones who had earlier, because the earlier patient did not continue with the treatment properly. So therefore, compliance, a lot of research is being done in TB on how to ensure that the patients are compliant with the treatment course of the treatment. So this is a tough problem, but I'm just mentioning that we need to look into that in a little more detail. There are, of course, different kinds of IP. So for example, where you have a technology which you have licensed to a company, but the company wants to kill your technology. They don't want to manufacture that. So what clause do you have to build in the agreement? If in 3 years you don't operationalize my solution, it will revert back to me and no amount will be refunded. Whatever amount you paid for getting this technology is forfeited. Do you put such clause? Any one of you who has drafted the licensing agreement or has seen the licensing agreement? Anybody would like to share their experience? Anybody who has some experience of technology transfer? I'm not able to hear. Okay, some of the innovators have come. कातीवाड़ा जी, अभी मैं आपको म्यूट कर रहा हूँ, थोड़ी देर में आपको अनम्यूट करूंगा. अभी थोड़ा टाइम है, 5-7 मिनट अभी हैं. मैं चलता हूँ थोड़ा तेजी से. I will come to, these are the incentives, material in individual, non-material individual. Rageshri, can we have the poll now? So there are 4 kinds of incentive: material individual, non-material individual, material collective, and non-material collective. I'm sure you are familiar with these. Material individuals are in the material form, financial form too. And now please give your response. Which one do you prefer? And later on, we will ask you to fill up a form where you will give the exact title of the incentive. But now just give your vote on which incentives do you think is most important. I'll wait for a few minutes. रामा जी, मैं अभी आपसे बात करूंगा. अभी केशव जी, अभी थोड़ी देर में बात करता हूँ. 5-10 मिनट आप इंतजार करिएगा, ठीक है ना?
हाँ ठीक है.
हाँ, धन्यवाद. So we are getting some trend, and more or less it is sticking on. So I don't think there's any radical change that's going to take place. But I'm surprised a little bit, and I'll tell you why I'm surprised. But actually speaking, I should not be surprised. The last category, non-material collecting. So let's say there is a lesson in the textbook which is taught to you or to your juniors. You will not have textbook, but at least in the undergraduate and postgraduate, you may have had some textbooks. And these textbooks don't have any lesson of inventors in your discipline who solve problems. I doubt if any one of you had a course where you read the biographies of the outstanding innovators. Was there any course like that?
No, sir.
No. So that tells me why non-material collective are getting only 7%.
Books, when the chapter started, then there were some examples of the innovators who were involved in.
But as such, you didn't have any text where in your discipline, power machinery, or in chemical engineering, or in biotechnology, you had the chance to go through these stories of, let's say, 10 top innovators in our country, or for the matter. Now, that's, this is the last one. The pedagogic changes, the public recognition, because the fact that you didn't have shows that if you are a policymaker tomorrow and if your attitude remains the same, our future generation will continue to suffer from this incentive. Get the point? Similarly, non-material individual. Non-material individual is appreciation, recognition, no amount, no money, just a citation by the Society of Chemical Engineers, let us say, or plant biochemist, who recognize your work and give you and let's say International Society of Agricultural Economics or International Society of Plant Chemistry invites you with a paid ticket to New York or to Geneva to give a keynote lecture in a conference. That's an recognition, isn't it? There is no monetary reward in it, but it is an honor. Out of, let's say, 1,500, 1,000, 2,000 people will be present there. Only 5 or 6 keynote lectures will be there on all day, or each day, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keynote. And you are among the 6 people in the world who are invited to deliver a keynote because your work is so monumental. That's a great recognition, actually. To be honest with you, that was what turned my energy level to many levels, because I was very lucky to have such recognition at very young age. So therefore, non-material individual should be paid attention to more than what you have paid today. Material collective is good because the teams are getting recognized, not just individual. So that is understandable. But I would like you to work a little more on non-material individual and non-material collective. Thank you. We will go to the next, and I'll just show you one small film, and tell me if you are able to see this. If there's any difficulty, let me know. Are you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you able to hear the dialogue?
No.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me share sound. I will go back. You are able to hear?
Our motivations
Are you able to hear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
and I just find the topic still so amazingly engaging and interesting.
Yes,
So I
sir.
want to talk about that. The science is really surprising. The science is a little bit freaky, okay? We are not as endlessly manipulable and as predictable as you would think. There's a whole set of unbelievably interesting studies. I want to give you 2 that call into question this idea that if you reward something, you get more of the behavior you want. If you punish something, you get less of it. So let's go from London to the mean streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts, in the northeastern part of the United States. And let's talk about a study done at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Here's what they did. They took a whole group of students and they gave them a set of challenges. Things like memorizing strings of digits, solving word puzzles, other kinds of spatial puzzles, even physical tasks like throwing a ball through a hoop. Okay, they gave them these challenges and they said to incentivize their performance, they gave them 3 levels of rewards. Okay, so if you did pretty well, you got a small monetary reward. If you did medium well, you got a medium monetary reward. And if you did really well, if you were one of the top performers, you got a large cash prize. Okay? We've seen this movie before. This is essentially a typical motivation scheme within organizations, right? We reward the very top performers, we ignore the low performers, and the folks kind of in the middle. Okay, you get a little bit.
This is not audible, sir.
So what happens? They do
Huh?
have incentives. Here's what they found out. 1, as long as the task involves only mechanical skill, bonuses work as they would be expected. The higher the pay, the better their performance. Okay, that makes sense.
आवाज नहीं आ रहा है
But once
अभी
rudimentary
प्रफुल्ल बहन, अभी आप
cognitive
मेहर
skill,
आपको हम अभी बात करेंगे आपसे.
poorer performance. Now this is strange, right? A larger reward led to poorer performance. How can that possibly be? Now what's interesting about this?
Could you please raise the voice a little bit higher?
Wait a minute. Let me do that.
Not audible.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Just give me 1 minute. Just me. Let me try.
Professor, when you share it, do share sound, like click the option of share sound.
नहीं, वो तो मैंने कर दिया था, तभी तो मैंने आवाज को कम रखा हुआ था, पर मुझे नहीं पता था कि मेरे आवाज से सबको आवाज कम सुनाई देगी. That I didn't realize. So I'll just increase the sound. I'll just increase the sound. And I hope it's fast. Where is the sound? Now let me see if it works well. So let me start from here.
One at the University of Chicago, one at Carnegie Mellon, okay? The top tier of the economics profession. And they're reaching this conclusion that seems contrary to what a lot of us learned in economics, which is that the higher the reward, the better their performance. And they're saying that once you get above rudimentary cognitive skill,
Let me go back slightly.
it's one at the University of Chicago, one at Carnegie Mellon, okay? The top tier of the economics profession. And they're reaching this conclusion.
Sir, please increase the volume of the media player.
Okay, let me see how I do that. Just let me do that. Are you able to see or you're not seeing that?
सर वो जो ब्लू कलर का आपके स्क्रीन में है ना, उसको कर लो.
Whatever the number was, is actually a significant sum of money. So they replicated the experiment in India roughly as follows. Small rewards, the equivalent efficiently motivating.
Is it okay now?
MIT student, right?
Yes, sir. Okay now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right, so let's take the experiment. We're going to go to Madurai, India, rural India, where $50, $60, whatever the number was, is actually a significant sum of money. So they replicated the experiment in India roughly as follows. Small rewards, the equivalent of 2 weeks' salary, Small performance, low performance, 2-week salary, medium performance, about a month's salary, high performance, about 2 months' salary. Okay, so those are real good incentives. Okay, so you're going to get a different result here. Well, what happened though was that the people offered the medium reward did no better than the people offered the small reward. But this time around, the people offered the top reward. They did worst of all. Higher incentives led to worse performance. What's interesting about this is that it actually isn't all that anomalous. This has been replicated over and over and over again by psychologists, by some extent by sociologists, and by economists, over and over and over again. For simple, straightforward tasks, those kinds of incentives, if you do this, then you get that, they're great. For tasks that are algorithmic, set of rules where you have to just follow along and get a right answer, if-then rewards, carrots and sticks, outstanding. But when the task gets more complicated, when it requires some conceptual creative thinking, those kinds of motivators demonstrably don't work. In fact, money is a motivator at work, but in a slightly strange way. If you don't pay people enough, they won't be motivated. What's curious about, there's another paradox here, which is that the best use of money as a motivator is to pay people enough to take the issue of money off the table. Pay people enough so that they're not thinking about money and they're thinking about the work. Now, once you do that, it turns out there are 3 factors that the science shows lead to better performance, not to mention personal satisfaction. Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Autonomy is our desire to be self-directed, to direct our own lives. Now, in many ways, traditional notions of management run afoul of that. Management is great if you want compliance, but if you want engagement, which is what we want in the workforce today as people are doing more complicated, sophisticated things, self-direction is better. Let me give you some examples of this, of almost radical forms of self-direction in the workplace that lead to good results. Let's start with this company right here, Atlassian, an Australian company. It's a software company, and they do something really cool. Once a quarter, on a Thursday afternoon, they say to their developers, for the next 24 hours, you can work on anything you want. You can work on it the way you want. You can work on it with whomever you want. All we ask is that you show the results to the company at the end of those 24 hours in this fun kind of meeting, not a star chamber session, but this fun meeting with beer and cake and fun and other things like that. It turns out that that one day of pure, undiluted autonomy has led to a whole array of fixes for existing software, a whole array of ideas for new products that otherwise had never emerged. One day. Now, this is not an if-then incentive. This is not the sort of thing that I would have done 3 years ago before I knew this research. I would have said, I want people to be creative and innovative. They have autonomy, produces things that had never emerged. Okay, let's talk about mastery. Mastery is our urge to get better at stuff. We like to get better at stuff. This is why people play musical instruments on the weekend. You got all these people who are acting in ways that seem irrational economically. They play musical instruments on weekends. Why? It's not going to get them a mate. It's not going to make them any money. Why are they doing it? Because it's fun, because you get better at it, and that's satisfying. Go back in time a little bit. I imagine this if I went to my first economics professor, a woman named Mary Alice Schulman, and I went to her in 1983 and said, Professor Schulman, can I talk to you after class for a moment? Yeah. I got this inkling. I got this idea for a business model. I just want to run it past you. Here's how it would work. You get a bunch of people around the world who are doing highly skilled work, but they're willing to do it for free and volunteer their time, 20, sometimes 30 hours a week. Okay, she's looking at you somewhat skeptically there. Oh, but I'm not done. And then what they create, they give it away rather than sell it. It's going to be huge. I mean, she truly would have thought I was insane. Okay? It seemed to fly in the face of so many things. But what do you have? You have Linux powering 1 out of 4 corporate servers in Fortune 500 companies, Apache powering more than the majority of web servers, Wikipedia. What's going on? Why are people doing this? Why are these people, many of whom are technically sophisticated, highly skilled people who have jobs, okay? They have jobs. They're working at jobs for pay, doing sophisticated technological work. And yet, during their limited discretionary time, they do equally, if not more, technically sophisticated work, not for their employer, but for someone else for free. That's a strange economic behavior. economists who look into it, why are they doing this? It's overwhelmingly clear. Challenge and mastery, along with making a contribution. That's it. What you see more and more is a rise of what you might call the purpose motive, is that more and more organizations want to have some kind of transcendent purpose, partly because it makes coming to work better, partly because that's the way to get better talent. And what we're seeing now is, in some ways, when the profit motive becomes unmoored from the purpose motive, bad things happen. Bad things ethically sometimes, but also bad things just like not good stuff, like crappy products, like lame services, like uninspiring places to work. That when the profit motive is paramount, or when it becomes completely unhitched from the purpose motive, it's just, people don't do great things. More and more organizations are realizing this and sort of disturbing the categories between what's profit and what's purpose. And I think that actually heralds something interesting. And I think that the organizations that are flourishing, whether they're profit, for profit, or somewhere in between, are animated by this purpose motive. Let me give you a couple of examples. Here's the founder of Skype. He says, our goal is to be disruptive, but in the cause of making the world a better place. Pretty good purpose. Here's Steve Jobs. I want to put a ding in the universe. All right? That's the kind of thing that might get you up in the morning and racing to go to work. So I think that, that we are purpose maximizers, not only profit maximizers. I think the science shows that we care about mastery very, very deeply. And the science shows that we want to be self-directed. And I think that the big takeaway here is that if we start treating people like people and not assuming that they're simply horses, slower, smaller, better-smelling horses, if we get past this kind of ideology of carrots and sticks and look at the science, I think we can actually build organizations and work lives that make us better off, but I also think they have the promise to make our world just a little bit better.
So as you could see, it was, let me just close it, just wait a minute. Now there's something else will start. So friends, I hope the message has been driven home that non-monetary incentives, something which gives you joy, happiness, purpose, sometimes can be better motivator, more sustained motivation than just a small time monetary reward. That was the point. After you have expressed your opinion, it's a time for you to reflect on it, and not now, just now, but later on when you get time. Now we are going to meet some innovators. Anamika, are you going to tell? I shall show their brief background, and then so these are the innovators who will be talking to you now. And incidentally, they're all motivated by non-monetary incentives. None of them have put any restriction on their innovation. So we have Abhishekar Patiwala from Sikkim. मैं अभी उनको बुलाऊंगा. वो अब सिक्किम में हैं. उन्होंने हर्बल पेस्टिसाइड बनाया है, दवाइयाँ बनाई हैं. उनको सऊदी अरब के गवर्नमेंट ने बुलाया था वहाँ पर उनको अपनी दवाइयाँ सिखाने के लिए, दिखाने के लिए. तो उनको अंतर है. अभी हमने पीपल फेस्टिवल ऑफ इनोवेशन में दिल्ली में ज्ञान ने उनको बुलाया था. फिर हम रामजी भाई हिमाजी परिवार है, जिनकी दवाई से जिमेटिक मशीन दवाई बनी थी, और उन्होंने क्यों बताई ये दवाई, उसके बारे में वो बताएंगे. तीसरे हमारे साथ संजय भाई तिलवा हैं राजकोट से, जिन्होंने ग्राउंड डिगर और थ्रेशर बनाया है, वो उसके बारे में बताएंगे. और कई लोगों ने उनकी नकल की है, लेकिन वो कहते हैं मेरा काम अगर अच्छा है तो लोग मेरे पास ही आएंगे ना. और 1000 से ज़्यादा उन्होंने ग्राउंड डिगर बेच दिए हैं. और हमारे साथ प्रफुल्ल कुमार मेहर और उनकी पत्नी सत्यवती भी हैं, बरगर उड़ीसा से. दोनों अभी पीपल फेस्टिवल ऑफ इनोवेशन में सभी आए थे. 3 लोग आए थे इनमें से, 4 में से. और इन्होंने एक वेफ्ट वाइंडिंग मशीन होती है जो हैंडलूम के लिए, कपड़ों साड़ी के लिए यूज़ होती है, उसका उन्होंने एक इन्वेंट किया है मशीन, जिसमें ऑटोमेटिक भी किया है कि कितना रोटेशन चाहिए किस धागे का, उसको बताएंगे उसके बारे में. और किसी ने भी अपनी जानकारी को रोका नहीं है औरों को बताने से. तो मैं अभी एक-एक करके सबको बुलाता हूँ. सबसे पहले हम बुलाएं अभिकेशी जी को. अभिकेशी जी, अपना वो कर लीजिए, आप अनम्यूट कर लीजिए अपने आप को, और अपना वीडियो ऑन कर लीजिए. अगर चल सकता है तो, नहीं चल सकता है तो कोई बात नहीं. थोड़ा बताइए 5 मिनट के अंदर अपना, 10 मिनट में थोड़ा कुछ सवाल पूछेंगे तो 5 मिनट के लिए सवाल कभी सवाल. नमस्कार. बोलिए। अभिषेकर जी सिक्किम से बोल रहे हैं।
म्यूट
अभिषेकर जी,
म्यूट इज म्यूट।
हाँ बोल, आप अपने को अनम्यूट करिए अभिषेकर जी, आपको अनम्यूट करना पड़ेगा। हाँ अब हो गया अनम्यूट आपका। हाँ आप बोल
हो गया।
सकते हैं, आप बोल सकते हैं, हमें आवाज आ रही है, बोलिए बोलिए बोलिए।
अच्छा सर। सर ये जो हर्बल मेडिसिन में मैंने इधर जितना भी उधर लेके आया था सर, आपको कैसा लगा वो जो मैंने आपको दिया था उस
हाँ बहुत बढ़िया है, बहुत बढ़िया है। और मैंने अभी आंख वाला इस्तेमाल नहीं किया है, दूसरा वाला किया है, बहुत बढ़िया है। तो
अच्छा
जरा बताइए आपने कैसे बनाया और आपको प्रेरणा कैसे मिली और आप लोगों को बांटते हैं, कैसे करते हैं, क्या करते हैं, बताइए।
अच्छा सर, ये मेरा ये हॉबी भी था पहले भी, क्योंकि अभी सब लोग क्या करते थे कि हॉस्पिटल जाते थे, क्योंकि हॉस्पिटल जाने वाला आदमी को ज्यादा कोई गरीब आदमी होता था, कोई क्या होता था, इसीलिए मैंने गांव में ऐसे जाके हमसे बड़े वाले और मेरा पिताजी भी वैसे ही काम करते थे हर्बल मेडिसिन के बारे में, और
हम्म।
थोड़ा पिताजी से थोड़ा सीख लिया और गाँव
हाँ आपका वीडियो चला गया, आवाज, आप वीडियो बंद कर
में
लीजिए।
जाके कितने अभी इलाज कर नहीं पाया करके कौन सा
आपका वीडियो बंद कर लो, वीडियो बंद कर लो, तो शायद आपकी आवाज अच्छी हो जाएगी। आप कर सकते हो कि मैं करूं, कैसे करूं? ये आपका वीडियो कैसे बंद कर सकते हैं?
सर मैं
हाँ ठीक है, बताइए, बोलिए बोलिए।
स्टॉप वीडियो स्टॉप कर देंगे।
हाँ बोलिए बोलिए, आपकी आवाज आ रही है, बोलिए।
सर सुनाई रहा है सर?
हाँ सुनाई दे रहा है।
अच्छा अ, अच्छा सर, मैंने ऐसे ऐसे करके अपना खुद ही बना के अपना ये इनोवेशन करके जंगल में जाके वो क्या क्या करता था पहले मेरा पिताजी, उसको सब संभाल के लाया, वो मैंने खाया भी और दूसरा को भी दिया, उसमें अच्छा रिजल्ट निकला, सब ठीक हो गया है सर। और इसमें और ज्यादा भी मैं कर रहा हूँ, क्योंकि ये जो माउंटेन पेपर्स है, माउंटेन पेपर का तो बहुत ज्यादा से ज्यादा बीमार ठीक हो जाता है सर। और ये अभी डायरिया का है, अभी डायबिटीज का, ये गैस्ट्रिक प्रॉब्लम सब कुछ का बनाया है सर, अभी हाई प्रेशर का, ये सब अभी मैं बना भी रहा हूँ, लाया भी था सर। और अभी ये मैं कर रहा हूँ कि मैं
वो जरा
जितना
बताइए, आपने वो जो आपने दवाई बनाई थी ना कीड़ों को मारने की,
हाँ सर वो भी बता देंगे
उसके
सर।
बारे में थोड़ा बता दीजिए, उसके बारे में थोड़ा
ठीक
बता
है
दीजिए।
थोड़ा
कैसे आपने कैसे चुना उन पौधों को, इसके बारे में बताइए।
अच्छा सर, जब पहला पहला ये क्या करता था मेरा पिताजी ने, मेरा वो जो खुजली आ जाता था, कुछ दवा लगा के भी जाती ठीक नहीं होता था, इसलिए एक पे जाके एक बूस को पकड़ लिया, उसको थोड़ा पत्ता निकाल के लेके आया, थोड़ा पीस के मुझे लगा दिया था सर, ताकि वो लगाने से क्या हो गया पता नहीं, मुझे बेहोश बना दिया ऐसा वाला वो मैंने फिर उसको मिलाया। और ये हाथीवार तो आपको मैं फोटो भेज दूंगा सर, उधर मैंने निकाला था, हाथीवार का रस जो होता है वो इफेक्टिव
हाँ
होता
हाँ
है।
हाँ, भेजना
और उसके
भेजना।
बाद में मैंने हाँ, और मैंने उधर उसका फिर राख का पानी को निकाल के राख में थोड़ा पानी मिला के एक रात रख दिया, उसके सुबह सुबह वो बहुत कड़वा होता है, उसको पानी और राख को छुटा के वो तीनों मिला के इतना अच्छा पेस्टिसाइड्स बनाया था कि जो कि सब्जियां में जितना भी कीड़ा मकोड़े लगता है उन लोगों को थोड़ा वो मर तो नहीं सकता, थोड़ा भाग तो सकता था, इसीलिए मैंने भगाने का बना दिया सर।
बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया,
मारने का
बहुत
नहीं है,
बढ़िया।
इसलिए क्योंकि
मारने का नहीं, भगाने का।
नेचुरल हाँ नेचुरल कैलेमिटी को उसको भी इकोलॉजिकल बैलेंस
बढ़िया है, बढ़िया है। तो वह अभी
लाना पड़ता है ना सर, उसको
दूसरों
जुगाड़
दूसरों को,
करना पड़ता है इसीलिए।
अभिषेकर जी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। मैं
और
दूसरों को बुलाऊं उससे पहले, अगर किसी को कोई सवाल पूछना है, एक दो सवाल छोटे छोटे, तो हम पूछ लेंगे, फिर हम अगले इन्वर्टर के पास चलेंगे। ये आप देखे,
ठीक है
आपने
सर,
देखा कि
ठीक है।
हाँ एक मिनट में किसी को सवाल पूछना है कोई अभी केशर जी से?
सर मुझे पूछना है सर एक
हाँ
बात।
बोलिए बोलिए बोलिए।
सर उनका जो दवाई है क्या ये सिर्फ सिक्किम में ही पाया जाता है कि बाकी नॉर्थ ईस्ट के स्टेट में ही पाया जाता है, जो स्पेशल इंडियन हार्बल है उनका?
अभी केशर जी, जो आप पौधे इस्तेमाल करते हैं, या वो
यस सर,
पौधे बाकी राज्यों में भी होते हैं या सिर्फ सिक्किम में ही होते हैं?
नहीं सिक्किम में भी है और ये नागालैंड साइड हो सकता है, क्योंकि जितना भी पहाड़ी जगह है ना सर,
हाँ
पहाड़ी
हाँ
जगह पे पहाड़ी का थोड़ा पहाड़ के ऊपर ऊपर भी होता है, कोई नीचे का भी होता है। वो इसका जितना भी मौसम के आधार में, ये क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशन के आधार में हो जाता है सर। क्योंकि जैसे आपको अहमदाबाद ये गुजरात में नहीं होगा, तो उसका पहाड़ी जगह है तो उसमें भी हो सकता है। नागालैंड
नहीं,
में बहुत
लेकिन
कुछ
लेकिन
है सर,
नहीं,
मणिपुर।
अभी वो तो बात आपकी बात सही है, लेकिन आपने देखा है बाहर और जगह पर? अभी नहीं देखा है, उसका आपने अध्ययन नहीं किया?
नहीं, नहीं, पहाड़ी जगह में है सर, मैं गया था उधर। लेकिन ये
अपनी जगह
सिक्किम में
सिक्किम में
सबसे
ही देखा है,
ज्यादा
बाकी जगह नहीं गए ना अभी आप?
बाकी जगह नहीं थे, सिक्किम में सबसे ज्यादा ऐसा ऑल ओवर
ठीक है,
इंडिया
एक
ये
बारी आपका
बावजूद
विजिट हम
सबसे
नागालैंड में
ज्यादा।
करवाएंगे, आपका विजिट, ठीक है ना? तो वहां भी देखना आप, ठीक है?
ठीक है, ठीक ठीक सर,
So
देखा दूंगा।
Santosh, his
ठीक है,
reply is
ओके
that
सर, ओके।
he has only seen, I mean, he's giving a generic reply that if it is found in mountains of Sikkim, it might be found in mountains of other region, but he hasn't gained experience of his own. तो अभी हम दूसरे इनोवेटर्स के पास जाएंगे।
सर
रमा
मैं
जी भाई
एक
हैं?
क्वेश्चन पूछना
हाँ,
चाह रहा
बोलिए
था
बोलिए बोलिए
अभी
रमाकांत,
शेखर जी से।
बोलिए बोलिए।
अभी केशर जी, मैं एक सवाल ये पूछना चाह रहा था, जैसे आप जो भी मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स यूज कर रहे हैं अपने मेडिसिन में या फिर अपने पेस्टिसाइड बनाने में, तो वो सारे प्लांट्स
यस सर।
आप जैसे हिल एरिया में आपको नेचुरली मिलते हैं उगे हुए, या फिर इस तरह का आप कुछ खेती या इस तरह का कोई फार्मर भी है उस तरह का कोई यूज कर रहा है उसको, या फिर नेचुरली ही पहले
अच्छा,
प्लांट्स
अच्छा
हैं
सर।
फिर आप उनको यूज
यस
कर रहे हो?
अभी, अच्छा सर, अभी तो इधर नेचुरली मिलता है और मैंने तो शुरू किया है इधर थोड़ा थोड़ा लगाने का, क्योंकि मैं ये चाहता हूँ कि इन लोगों को भी थोड़ा इसका पूरा गार्डन बना लें, इन लोगों को ज्यादा से ज्यादा निकालें, ऐसे सोच रहा हूँ सर। पीछे पीछे लगा के जाएंगे। अभी तो नेचुरली मिलता है, क्योंकि मेरे जमीन पे सबसे ज्यादा ही मिलता है सर ये।
क्योंकि ये एक और ऑप्शन बन सकता है, क्योंकि आप अगर इसकी खेती को थोड़ा बढ़ावा देना शुरू कर देंगे तो
एकदम
शायद
एकदम।
एक और ऑप्शन खुल जाएगा। जैसे आप मेडिसिन तो लगा ही रहे हैं, मतलब बना ही रहे हैं, और
हाँ
वो
सर,
भी
हाँ सर,
एक्सप्लोर
हाँ
हो
सर।
रही है। शायद सर ने जैसा रिकमेंडेशन दिया है, काफ़ी अच्छी मेडिसिन है,
ये
तो
सर।
इसका भी एक और
और
शायद एक ऑप्शन हो सकता है।
ये समय सोच रहा हूँ कि अब मेरा यहाँ पे सिक्किम के ऐसे ऐसे ट्रेनिंग देके हर्बल गार्डन बनाने का मैं सोच रहा हूँ सर। अब सब ज्ञान की वजह से अगर सपोर्ट मिल जाए तो मैं इसको सबसे ज्यादा उसको टारगेट करके उसको आगे बढ़ा लूंगा सर।
और इनमें कुछ साइंटिस्ट भी बैठे हैं, बच्चे जो हैं आपके साथ, कुछ का अगर कोई सिक्किम के होंगे, सिक्किम का है कोई यहाँ पर?
यहाँ
ऐसे?
सिक्किम में नहीं थोड़ा सा कृषि विज्ञान केंद्र के साथ में मैंने
हाँ,
काम
नहीं
किया
मैम,
पहला बार।
ठीक है ठीक है। धन्यवाद
हाँ,
अभिकेशर जी, बहुत बहुत मेहरबानी आपकी, आपने टाइम निकाला। अभी
ऐसे
हम
ठीक
रमा जी भाई हैं?
ठीक है सर, ठीक।
हाँ, धन्यवाद। आप रहना, अभी सुनना, दूसरों की बात सुनना।
ओके
रमा
सर,
जी
ओके।
भाई को जरा अनम्यूट करोगे भाई? रमा जी भाई।
हाँ,
हाँ,
नमस्कार।
नमस्ते
हाँ, नमस्कार।
नमस्ते। हाँ, बताइए बताइए,
नमस्कार।
आपने जो बनाया कैसे बनाया, बताइए। दवाई जो बनाई।
ट्यूब बनाई नहीं, ज्योमेट्री ट्यूब बनाई थी।
हाँ, बताओ बताओ।
हाँ, ज्योमेट्री ट्यूब बनाई थी, આપણે કુકરવેલ માંથી બનાઈ હતી।
कुकड़बेल में से एक
કુકર પાડો
कुकड़बेल,
કહેવાય, कुकरवेल।
ये जो कस्कुटा रिफ्लेक्सा है, शायद उसकी बात कर रहे हैं ना? कुकड़बेल जो पौधों पे हो जाती है ना, लंबी लंबी धागे जैसी।
और लंबी 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 लंबी
हाँ
गीलोड़ा
हाँ हाँ हाँ,
गीले टाइप,
कस्कुटा रिफ्लेक्सा, जो एक पैरासाइट है
गल का
प्लांट।
टाइप।
हाँ हाँ। तो आपको कैसे पता चला कि ये पौधा इस काम में आता है?
पाना तो कूणी कूणी डीरे तो वडीलो भाजी बनाता था,
अच्छा
सब्जी बनाता था।
अच्छा, सब अच्छा अच्छा।
कूणी डीरे नहीं पहली वडीला उसका बीज जो खा
मैं उसको दिखा
जाता।
देता हूँ, एक मिनट में।
बीज तो कड़वा आता था, बहुत वामिट થઈ જાય।
अच्छा, वो अच्छा
ઝેર બહાર-
उसका बीज खाएंगे तो कड़वा हो जाता है? तो
हाँ, ઝેર બહાર કાઢી દે।
एक मिनट में उनको, वो ये है, इसमें इन्होंने नीम लिया है, ब्यूटिया मोनोस्पर्मा ढाक, तुलसी, लफा, मोरिया कोनी की ये करी पत्ता, ये सब लिया है
हाँ,
इन्होंने। और खास जो है वो ढाक का पत्ता है, जो जिसका फूल होता है ना, लाल पलाश बोलते हैं। पलाश का पेड़ लिया ना आपने?
हाँ, हाँ,
लाल फूल आता है जिसका, है ना?
हाँ, हाँ, हाँ जी।
हाँ 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 हाँ। तो ब्यूटो मोनास्पर्मा लिया है, वो बहुत वाइडली उगता है। और उसके बारे में उन्होंने बताया, उन्होंने बड़ा से सीखा। और अभी आप गांव में दे रहे हो इसको, अपने अपने यहाँ इस्तेमाल करते हो?
हाँ वो चालू से समाज चालू है
फायदा हो रहा है
बना
इसको, लोग को फायदा हो रहा है।
हाँ बनाई आपी है बदल
बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया। पैसे लेते हो या फ्री में देते हो?
हाँ
कितने
मतलब
पैसे
फ्री
लेते
में दिए गरीबन तो आप ही दिए कोई नहीं है
हो? गरीबों
आप
को फ्री में दे
बनाइए
देते हो? हाँ, ठीक
हाँ
बात
फ्री
है।
में दिए।
ठीक
पथरी
बात।
ने बनाई है पथरी बनाई है डायबिटीज बनाई है
डायबिटीज की दवाई बनाई है, पथरी की बनाई है। बढ़िया।
डायबिटीज में तो गारंटी वाली है
डायबिटीज के लिए क्या इस्तेमाल करते हो?
ये इंदिरा जॉब है मम्मी जो है
मम्मी
करूज
जो
है
है, इंदिरा जब है, ठीक कह रहे हो,
कास्का
ठीक।
है जामबानी साल है जामबानी बीज है
जामुन की
कारेला
बीज है, जामुन की छाल है, ठीक कह रहे हो, ठीक।
है
ठीक कह रहे हैं, ठीक है। लेकिन आपने जो कॉम्बिनेशन बनाया, जो आपने मिलाया है, वो अलग है औरों से। वो आपकी सूझबूझ है, उसमें आपकी इनोवेशन है, आपका नवाचार है।
पथरी माटे बनाई है
कितने कितने लोग आते हैं महीने में आपके पास?
महीना में कोई 25-30 माणस आई जो है
25-30 मानस आ जाते हैं। बढ़िया।
गरीब बंदा
आपने आपने अपने बच्चों को सिखाया ये?
हाँ सिखाए बच्चों ने सिखाए
बढ़िया, बढ़िया।
नमस्ते
अच्छा, ठीक है, नमस्ते, नमस्ते। इनका बेटा भी हमारे साथ था, और वो उसकी मदद कर रहा है। बढ़िया। तो अभी हम जाएंगे। संजय तिलवा, आप हैं भाई? संजय, संजय, हाँ, बोलो बोलो आप। संजय, बताओ, अपना अनुभव थोड़ा सा बताओ। संजय, बोलो, आवाज नहीं आ रही तुम्हारी भाई। संजय, संजय, आवाज नहीं आ रही है। संजय, तुम्हारी आवाज नहीं आ रही है। अब आई है आवाज, बोलो। नहीं आई। संजय, ये वो हेडफोन निकाल दो, इसको हेडफोन निकाल दो, तुम सीधा बोलोगे। ये निकाल दो, कान से निकाल दो, इससे नहीं आ रही आवाज। इसको निकाल दो, सीधा बोलो, सीधा बोलो। ये जो आपको म्यूट करना चाहिए अपने आप को। हाँ, बोलो, अब बोलो। नहीं यार, उसको निकाल दो हाँ, ब्लूटूथ निकाल दो भैया। नहीं, ब्लूटूथ निकाल के स्पीकर पे आ जाओ ना। या मुझे फोन करोगे तो मैं फोन से आपका स्पीकर फोन ऑन कर देता हूँ। चलो, मुझे फोन कर लो।
हेलो हेलो सर, सुना?
अब ठीक है, अब आ गई आवाज। संजय, आपने बोला? संजय, नहीं आ रही आवाज तुम्हारी है। दोबारा से ज्वाइन करो, जितने फिर मैं उनको बुलाता हूँ, मेहर जी को। आप एक बार दोबारा ज्वाइन करो, एक्सिट करके, ठीक है ना? और अब की बार ब्लूटूथ मत लगाना, सीधा बात करना। ओके, प्रफुल्ल मेहर जी।
जी नमस्ते।
नमस्ते, नमस्ते। बताइए आपके बारे में, आपने क्या किया, अपना फोटो दिखा सकते हैं तो वो भी दिखा दीजिए। हाँ, दिखा दीजिए। नमस्ते बहन, नमस्ते।
नमस्ते।
आप ठीक ठाक हैं?
हाँ ठीक है।
हाँ, बताओ बताओ, आपने जो मशीन बनाई है उसके बारे में दिखाओ।
ये पहले हाथ में करती थी तो
हाँ,
लकड़ी के बीच में वो जो धागा जाती थी ना,
हाँ।
औरत लोगों की तकलीफ होती थी।
अच्छा,
लेडीज लोग एक दिन में एक साड़ी का कर लेती थी और फिर और से कोई नहीं कर सकती।
हाँ।
उसकी कमर दर्द हो जाती तो वो मेरी हस्बैंड के मैं बोली मेरी कमर दर्द है ये तो
हाँ,
कुछ कीजिए, ऐसे
हाँ।
कीजिए जो कि हम जल्दी जल्दी से प्रोडक्शन करेंगे, बुनकर भी नहीं बैठेंगे
सही कह रहे हो।
और बाहर भी हम बेच सके हैं।
हाँ,
ज्यादा से ज्यादा 400 तक मशीन बाहर से बेचे हैं।
बेचे कितने जिले में, बरगर में या और जिलों में भी?
बरगढ़, सोनपुर, बलांगीर और हमारी बगल की स्टेट वो जो छत्तीसगढ़ है ना,
हाँ,
हाँ वहीं पे होती थी,
अच्छा, अभी
बेचना
वीडियो दिखा
होती
रहे
है
हैं।
और बाहर स्टेट में नहीं होती है।
हाँ, कितने की कीमत है इसकी, कितनी
हाँ
कीमत है?
वो साइज लेके कीमत होती है।
हाँ
लीवर का जितनी घर में जगह होती है उनकी
हाँ,
साइज में लेती है, उसकी जितनी पैसा होती है भी उनकी साइज से लगती है।
मतलब आप किसी के पास कम जगह है तो छोटी मशीन बनाओगे और ज्यादा है तो बड़ी बनाओगे, ऐसा होता है?
हाँ 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 वो
बहुत बढ़िया। देखिए आप
देखिए
कस्टमाइजेशन की बात देखिए, कस्टमाइजेशन की बात है,
हाँ
ये स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन
20
नहीं
से
है,
30 हजार
कस्टमाइजेशन
से
है।
आती है।
20 से 30 हजार।
20 से 30 हजार।
हाँ
हाँ, और ये अभी कितनी साड़ी का काम कर देती है मशीन एक दिन में?
एक दिन में 1 घंटा चलाएगा तो 20 पीस का होगा।
एक साड़ी का काम हो जाएगा? सोनाली अपना म्यूट कर
20
दो
पीस
अपने आप
का
को।
20 साड़ी का।
हाँ
20 साड़ी।
हाँ 20 पीस का हो जाती है।
अच्छा।
ये
वैसे
अभी पहले जो होती थी, मतलब एक लेडी जो घर की लेडीज होती थी वो घर के काम करने के बाद ये काम अगर करती थी तो 2.5 दिन लगते थे उसको, मतलब
हाँ
दूसरी काम स्टार्ट करने में। और ये
हाँ,
है कि 1 घंटे में 20 साड़ी का काम करके दे देता है।
क्या बात है,
एक
क्या?
अपाहिज जो मतलब फिजिकल हैंडीकैप जो होते हैं वो भी बैठ के आराम से कर सकते हैं, इसमें कोई हाथ का ये नहीं है। जब धागा टूट जाता है आप रोकने के बाद वो खुद रुक जाएगा। उसके बाद आप धागा जोड़ के कंटिन्यू फिर कर सकते हैं। वो ब्रेक मतलब लगाते हैं। ये जैसे अभी ब्रेक ब्रेक दबा दिए, कंटिन्यू स्टॉप हो गया, ये कंटिन्यू था
हाँ
स्टॉप हो गया।
हाँ
वैसे फिर वो स्टॉप होने के बाद नॉर्मल जो फिजिकल हैंडीकैप होगा वो आराम से जाके अपना धागा जोड़ सकता है, फिर रिटर्न आके अपना चला सकता है। तो इसमें
हाँ
कोई
हाँ।
दिक्कत नहीं है काम करने में।
सीजन में,
और
पहले
ये
सीजन में,
पहले से
सीजन में सिंगल।
तो बनाने में कितना टाइम कितने साल लगे इसको बनाने में?
2008 में
2008 से स्टार्ट किए थे। और
हाँ
मतलब इसको जो प्रैक्टिकल करते करते इन्होंने मतलब करीबन इन्होंने 3 महीने में स्टार्ट कर दिया था ऑटोमेशन।
अच्छा, बहुत बढ़िया। अब किसी को सवाल
और
पूछना
मैं
है?
उनकी बेटी हूँ सर।
क्या नाम
जब
है
मैं
आपका?
10th स्टैंडर्ड की थी तब से मैं ये वर्क मेरे पापा के साथ मैं कर रही हूँ। तो
आपका नाम?
अभी
आभा, आभा म्यूट करो अपने। आभा, आभा आपने कुछ सवाल पूछा था क्या? आभा आपको सवाल पूछना था क्या? तो फिर अपने को अनम्यूट कर लो, मेरे को लगा शायद आपने गलती से ऑन कर दिया। आभा आपको सवाल पूछना है तो अनम्यूट कर दो अपने आप को। हाँ। आपका क्या नाम बच्ची, आपका नाम क्या बेटिया? आप प्रफुल्ल, आपको अनम्यूट करना है, आप अनम्यूट कर दो अपने आप को। मैंने आभा को कहा था बंद, आप अनम्यूट कर दो अपने आप को प्रफुल्ल। हाँ
जी
अब बेटिया आपका नाम क्या है?
मेरा नाम
गुड
नहीं
इवनिंग
बिटिया का
सर, मेरा नाम मोनालिसा मेहर है।
क्या है? मोनालिसा?
जी
मोनालिसा।
जी
मनाली, मनाली, ठीक है मनाली, आपने बहुत अच्छा बताया। अभी मैं पूछता हूँ लोगों से, किसी को सवाल है तो आप जवाब देना उसका, ठीक है? पापा
जी
से
सर
पूछ के,
बिल्कुल।
पापा अम्मा से पूछ के, सत्यवती जी जो आपकी अम्मा है
जी
उनसे
सर।
भी। दिल्ली में उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा बोला था डायस पे आकर, है ना?
जी जी
और तो किसी को सवाल पूछना है भाई इस मशीन के बारे में? वेब वाइंडिंग मशीन जो है, ये बर्गर बहुत जब हमने शोध यात्रा वहाँ की थी तो हमको मिले थे ये प्रफुल्ल भाई, उनके घर गए थे हम, और ये वेब मशीन देखी थी पहली बार हमने। और काफी बड़ी मशीन बनाई है इन्होंने, लेकिन जैसे उन्होंने बताया कि अगर किसी के पास कम जगह है तो वो छोटी मशीन बना देते हैं। एनीबॉडी हैज एनी क्वेश्चन, प्लीज गो अहेड। हिंदी में बोलिएगा तो
इज
मैं
इट मैकेनिकली ड्राइवन? ये क्या मैकेनिकली हाथ से करते हैं या फिर इलेक्ट्रिक पावर्ड है ये, या फिर दोनों है?
मनाली जवाब दो बेटे, ये मैनुअल है कि पावर्ड है? ये तो बिजली से चलती है ना। अनम्यूट करो अपने को, अनम्यूट करो, अनम्यूट करो। ये आपकी आवाज बंद कर रखी है आपने, अनम्यूट करो। हाँ
सर ये बोथ से चलता है, हैंड से भी होता है, इलेक्ट्रिकल होता है। जैसे बिजली हमारे पास नहीं है अवेलेबल
हाँ
तो हम
हाँ,
इसको कंप्लीट करने के लिए बाय हैंड हम कर सकते हैं।
घुमा सकते हैं, ठीक है ठीक है।
इस
और
साइड में हैंडल लग सकता है, तो उसमें हैंडल से आप थोड़ी देर के लिए या ज्यादा टाइम के लिए भी आप करेंगे तो आपकी एक्सरसाइज भी हो जाएगी और काम भी हो जाएगी दोनों।
सही बात है, सही बात। और किसी को और कोई सवाल है भाई? बच्ची बहुत अच्छी बोलती है, बहुत अच्छा बोलती है। और किसी को पूछना है कुछ? चलिए संजय भाई, अच्छा बहन आपके पास फिर से आएंगे वापस हम भी। और प्रफुल्ल भाई, ये जो आपने
सर
मशीन
और एक बात है, इसमें
क्या बताओ?
सेंसर लगता है। जैसे धागा टूट जाती है तो सेंसर
हाँ।
आवाज करती है। वो इसमें लगाया नहीं गया है कि जो कस्टमर का ऑर्डर होता है उसी हिसाब से हम लगा देते हैं।
अच्छा, तो उससे
तो
क्या है
आप
कि अगर आपने ऑन करके चले गए तो धागा टूट गया तो फिर मशीन चलती नहीं
हाँ,
रहेगी,
धागा
आपको
टूट गया तो
अलार्म आएगा, आपको अलार्म आएगा कि जाके जल्दी से मशीन को बंद करो और धागा जोड़ो, है ना?
हाँ जी, हाँ जी, मतलब आप चला के कहीं भी आप घूम सकते हैं घर में।
हाँ
जैसे आवाज आएगी आप आके बंद करके अपना काम कर सकते हैं फिर
ठीक
दोबारा।
बात, बहुत अच्छा। ये तो नई बात सुन रहा हूँ, ये बात तो मुझे दिल्ली में नहीं बताई थी पापा ने आपके, भूल गए होंगे बताना।
पापा को थोड़ा हिंदी कम आती है ना
हाँ सही
सर,
बात है,
इसलिए।
लेकिन ये बहुत अच्छी बात बताई आपने, बहुत अच्छी बात बताई, ये मुझे नहीं मालूम था। लेकिन ये बहुत अच्छा है, काम है बहुत अच्छा है, ताकि हर समय आपको वहीं नहीं बैठना पड़ेगा। अगर चल रही है मशीन, चल रही है,
जी
चलने दो, जब धागा टूटेगा तो अलार्म बजेगा तो आप आ जाना। बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत। और कुछ कहना है प्रफुल्ल भाई, आपको कुछ कहना है?
हाँ जी।
हाँ बोलिए बोलिए।
अभी एक जो बना रहे हैं कि ये जो घूम रहा है ना, इससे बिजली जनरेट होगा और बैटरी से फिर चलेगा। बैटरी से दोबारा बिजली स्टोर होगा
मेरी बात
और
सुनो,
वही
मेरी बात
बिजली से हम दोबारा इस मशीन को चला
एक
सकते हैं।
मिनट, एक मिनट सुनो मेरी बात। ये परपेचुअल मोशन मशीन के बारे में मत पढ़ो ज्यादा। क्या होगा, जो बिजली बनाने में ऊर्जा लगेगी ना, वो ज्यादा होगी, और जो बिजली आएगी, पैदा होगी, वो कम होगी। हाँ, हाथ से चलाओगे तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, हाथ से चला के बिजली पैदा करनी है तो कर सकते हैं। लेकिन अगर मोटर से चलाओगे तो मोटर में जो बिजली खर्च होगी उससे कम बिजली पैदा होगी, ये ध्यान रखना। लेकिन आप लगा सकते हो, कोई बुराई नहीं है, अगर उसको बैटरी में स्टोर करना है और
सर
जब बिजली
मे
चली गई।
बी सर रीजनरेटिव ब्रेकिंग के बारे में बोल रही है वो,
नहीं 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 नहीं,
जैसे ईवीज में होता है।
नहीं वो क्या कह, बताओ दोबारा बताओ, कैसे करोगे बिजली पैदा, दोबारा बताओ।
सर ये जैसे घूम रहा है ना, इससे
हम्म
बिजली जनरेट होगा और बैटरी में स्टोर होगा, वही वहां से फिर मशीन दोबारा चलेगी। मतलब
ठीक है, जब
रिसाइकिल
बिजली नहीं
होता
आएगी,
रहेगा बिजली।
जब बिजली नहीं आएगी तो
हाँ
ठीक है, ठीक है।
लेकिन इस मशीन को चलाएंगे कैसे? जब आप बैटरी में स्टोर करना चाहते हैं तो इसको चलाएंगे कैसे? कौन सा मीडियम होगा, मैनुअल या पावर? बिकॉज क्वेश्चन वही है, अगर
हैंड में,
क्वेश्चन वही है, अगर आप पावर
हैंड
से
में।
इसको चलाएंगे, अगर हैंड से
अच्छा, वो
चलाएंगे
हैंड
तो आप
में
पावर
चलता है
स्टोर कर
ना।
सकते हैं, वो इकोनॉमिकल है।
हाँ,
हाँ तो वो हाँ जो
हैंड में
मशीन
इस बार।
हैंड क्रैंकिंग जिसको बोलते हैं, वो हैंड क्रैंक से पावर जनरेट कर रहे हैं।
ओके,
इस बार।
और कब क्या होता है, जब बिजली नहीं है या आपको थोड़ी देर के लिए
वो
तेज चलानी है
मैकेनिकल
मशीन,
अपनी एनर्जी को स्टोर कर सकते हैं, जो
स्टोर
इलेक्ट्रिकल
कर
एनर्जी थी उसको
सकते,
स्टोर
हाँ
कर सकते हैं।
स्टोर
इस
कर,
बार घूमेंगे तो आ जाएंगे।
ठीक बात है, ठीक
देन
बात,
फाइन, देन फाइन,
ठीक है, ठीक बात,
सब ठीक है।
ठीक, बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया। अभी संजय तुम्हारी बात सुन ले हम। संजय ज्वाइन कर लिया, संजय? संजय, संजय को मैं फोन करता हूँ क्योंकि वो संजय तिलवा ने एक बहुत बड़ी दो मशीनें बनाई हैं, कई बनाई हैं लेकिन दो मशहूर हैं उनकी। एक है ग्राउंडनट डिगर और एक है ग्राउंडनट थ्रेशर, जो पहले डिगर से मूंगफली निकाल लेते हैं और उसके बाद थ्रेशर खेत में चलते चलते उसको अ, ये है, मैं फोन कर देता हूँ उनको। हाँ भैया, तो अब क्या जोड़ नहीं पाए तुम दोबारा? चलो कोई बात नहीं, तो अभी बोलो। तो मैंने जमीन में से निकालने के लिए ग्राउंड टीचर हमने बनाया था, जो पहले हमने 2007 में। अभी सबको सुनाई दे रहा है? सुनाई दे रहा है? एक मिनट, सबको सुनाई दे रहा है?
हाँ सर।
अरे हाँ ठीक है, तो बोलो
ओके।
बोलो भाई बोलो। उसके बाद 2013 आपको।
सर आवाज ब्रेक हो रही है।
हाँ बोलो बोलो, आ रही है, आ रही है। 2013 में हाँ वीडियो दिखा दो ना, तो उससे सब कुछ पता लग जाएगा। हाँ वीडियो दिखा दो, बहुत बढ़िया आइडिया है। बढ़िया, आ गया, वीडियो आ गया, सबको दिख रहा है?
ये जो मशीन है जो हमने हार्वेस्टर बनाई
Yes,
थी,
sir.
हाँ, ये कितना पढ़े हो तुम भाई संजय?
मैंने सर बीकॉम किया है।
अब देखिए, आप बीकॉम किया है, मेरे साथी जो CSIO CMAI वाले हैं, जरा देख लें इसकी मशीन की बनावट। अक्षर एग्रो एंटरप्राइज, ये इन्होंने ड्रोन से फोटो लिया है। बताओ बताओ संजय, इसके बारे में बोलते जाओ।
सेल किया है।
हाँ,
और आज की डेट में हमारा जो सुजुकी इनोवेशन सेंटर वाला है,
हाँ,
वो डीजल
बहुत बढ़िया, बधाई हो, बधाई हो। बहुत बढ़िया, वेरी नाइस। तो ये मशीन क्या क्या करती है, जरा बताओ ब्रीफली।
तो अभी ये मशीन डायरेक्टली अपने आप कनेक्ट करेगी और मूंगफली को अलग करेगी, उसका भूसा को अलग करेगी। ये सिर्फ लेबर की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है, बिना लेबर का पूरा काम कर देगी।
जहाँ पर कमी है लेबर की, वहां के लिए बहुत उपयोगी है। तो ऐसी मशीन हिंदुस्तान में पहले किसी ने बनाई थी क्या? ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है। कितनी कीमत है इसकी? 12 लाख है। और आप अभी 2 ऑलरेडी बेच चुके हो और अभी ऑर्डर आ गया आपके पास। बहुत बढ़िया है। हाँ, बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया। अभी विद्यार्थियों से पूछता हूँ, किसी को कोई सवाल पूछना है तो वो पूछेंगे, ठीक है? हाँ भाई, एनीबडी वांट्स टू आस्क एनी क्वेश्चन, प्लीज गो अहेड।
No.
एनीबडी एल्स?
Yes, sir.
हाँ,
Actually, sir, his voice was not clear, but I have a question that what motivated him to go for this machine?
चंचल आप अपना म्यूट कर लो। हाँ, हाँ, बताओ, दोबारा बताओ, क्या उसने, किसने मोटिवेट किया?
Yes,
संजय,
sir. किस
सवाल
चीज
ये,
से मोटिवेट हुए?
हाँ संजय, ये मशीन जो बनाई, इसका विचार मन में कैसे आया?
गाँव में अभी भी मेरे पापा खेती का काम कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, और वहाँ पे हम मूंगफली उगा रहे हैं। तो वहाँ पे खेत पे मैं भी एक बार काम पे लगा था, जब बहुत बारिश हुई थी, मूंगफली पूरी गिर गई थी, ठीक है। उसके बाद मुझे विचार आया था, मेरे पापा ने मुझे 3 दिन तक उस पे लगा दिया था काम पे।
हाँ,
उसके बाद मुझे विचार आया,
हाँ,
घर से भी ट्राई किया था कैसे ऐसा मशीन बनाऊं, लेकिन मेरे पापा ने भी चला नहीं दिया था। बाद में मुझे कॉन्टेक्ट हुआ जूनागढ़ एग्रीकल्चर यूनिवर्सिटी,
हाँ,
तो वो साहब लोगों ने मुझे सपोर्ट किया और मशीन जो भी था वो बाद में करवा गया। तो पहली मशीन बनी
हाँ,
गया, तो
हाँ,
मार्केट
हाँ, हाँ,
तो उस टाइम ये 2 मशीन तो ग्राउंड से पूरा जीरो लेवल,
हाँ,
बाद आगे का विचार आया, बाद में आज दोनों मशीन हमारी सक्सेस कंप्लीट चल रही है।
बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया। Anybody has any question about his motivation, his design? You have seen the finishing of the machine also, it's quite reasonably good. और आपने उसका ड्रोन व्यू और स्काई व्यू भी देखा, साइड व्यू देखा, क्लोज व्यू देखा, डिस्टेंट व्यू देखा। इन्होंने फिल्म भी अच्छी बनाई है। तो आप में से किसी को कोई सवाल पूछना है हमसे? You have seen various degree of what is the cost? 12 लाख है आरती, इसकी कॉस्ट है 12 लाख। जो और डिगर जो है उसकी कॉस्ट है 1.25 लाख से लेकर 1.5 लाख तक, डिगर की कॉस्ट। और जो ऑटोमेटिक मशीन है, जो डिग करने के बाद में लिफ्ट करती है और प्रोसेस करती है, बायोमास को अलग करती है, पॉड को अलग करती है, उसकी कीमत 12 लाख है।
सर आई हैव अनदर क्वेश्चन
हाँ
कि इन्होंने जो डिजाइन किया है इसको, तो ये सब कुछ टोटल इन्होंने मशीन को इंडिविजुअली खुद बनाया है या फिर किसी ग्रुप की या किस डिजाइनिंग में या किसी दूसरी चीजों में इन्होंने किसी दूसरे उससे हेल्प भी ली है?
संजय, सवाल समझ में आया? बताओ जवाब।
हम 3-4 लोगों मिलकर यह मशीन बनाया है।
घर के ही लोग हैं, तीनों तीनों घर के लोग हैं, बाहर से किसी प्रोफेशनल की हेल्प नहीं ली है। दैट इज व्हाट यू मेंट। तो मतलब आप सोचो कि कितनी बड़ी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड मशीन है देखने में तो, और उसका ऑप्टिमाइजेशन करना पड़ता है, सारे पार्ट इंटीग्रेट होने चाहिए ना। कन्वेयर बेल्ट उसको लिफ्ट करेगी, उसको प्रोसेस करेगी, उसको सेपरेट करेगी, अलग अलग जगह पे स्टोर करेगी जो बायोमास है। और उसमें एडवांटेज क्या है कि जो थोड़ा बायोमास गिरेगा वो फील्ड में ही गिरेगा। तो वो पहले क्या था, मूंगफली उठाकर थ्रेशिंग ग्राउंड में ले जाते थे तो बायोमास वहां गिर जाता था। वो बायोमास बड़ा न्यूट्रिशियस होता है, उसको जमीन में ही जाना चाहिए, उसको जमीन के बाहर नहीं जाना चाहिए। इट विल फर्टिलाइज द सॉइल। तो ये मशीन जो है कोई भी वेस्टेज नहीं होने देगी, बहुत न्यूट्रिशियस बायोमास का। दैट इज द ग्रेट एडवांटेज ऑफ दिस, अपार्ट फ्रॉम सेविंग लेबर। तो अपना डिगर भी दिखा दो, डिगर भी दिखा दो। हाँ ये, हाँ हाँ ठीक है, चल रही मशीन तुम्हारी। तो ये है जो मूंगफली को निकालेगा जमीन से और क्यारी में डालते, ये देखिए निकाल रहे हैं और ये डालते जा रहे हैं एक पटरी में। अभी he is facing one of the challenge. He wants to invert the plant, which he is not able to do, but he is trying to work on it so that pods come on the top and the leaves are the bottom. वो अभी उस पर काम कर रहे हैं। If some of you want to work with him and join hands and do something, आपको अपना कोई प्रोजेक्ट करना है उसके ऊपर तो कर सकते हो, राजकोट में ही है और बहुत हेल्पफुल हैं, आपको खाना भी खिलाएंगे और he will host you also, and at the same time you can work and learn and he will also learn from you. ठीक है, थैंक यू संजय, थैंक यू। अभी बने रहना, टच में रहना, मैं अभी फोन बंद नहीं कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है ना? ठीक है, ठीक है, थैंक यू। इसको वीडियो को बंद कर दोगे 1 मिनट के लिए तो ठीक हो जाएगा, ठीक है। So friends, if we have heard 4 people, any comment, any observation that you have, they are working for, I mean, they are working for different scales. आपने देखा कि जो प्रफुल्ल भाई हैं, सत्यवती जी हैं, उनकी बिटिया है, उन लोगों ने मिलकर 5 जिलों में और छत्तीसगढ़ में और 4 जिले तेलंगाना के, उसके उड़ीसा के, वहाँ उनकी मशीन गई है। काफी 400-500 मशीनें उन्होंने बेची हैं। जो हीलर हैं वो अपने गांव में, अपने आसपास के इलाके में ही सर्विसेज दे रहे हैं, लोकलाइज्ड। तो एक बहुत छोटे स्केल पर है, एक मीडियम स्केल पर है, और इनकी तो 800 मशीनें गई हैं ग्राउंडर डिगर पर। कितने स्टेट में है संजय तुम्हारा माल गया, तुम्हारी मशीन गई है संजय? संजय तो इसका फोन डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया, बट ही हैज सोल्ड इट इन तमिलनाडु, कर्नाटका, नाउ आंध्र प्रदेश, गुजरात एंड महाराष्ट्र। इन सब जगह पर उनकी मशीन गई है। रो टू रो स्पेसिंग जो है यहाँ पर वो थोड़ा एडजस्टमेंट उसमें करते हैं। ग्राउंडर डिगर के अंदर 4 मॉडल बनाए अलग अलग स्पेसिंग के हिसाब से उन्होंने। तो जहाँ जो प्रेवलेंट प्रैक्टिस है उसके हिसाब से वो डिगर को बेचते हैं। अभी डिगर के अंदर स्पेसिंग को एडजस्ट करने का ऑप्शन नहीं है, आपको अलग मॉडल लेना पड़ता है। जो प्रिवेलेंट 4 स्पेसिंग के प्रैक्टिसेस हैं उसके हिसाब से उन्होंने बनाया है। लाइटर सॉइल में स्पेसिंग थोड़ा ज्यादा होता है, हैवियर सॉइल में थोड़ा कम होता है। Any other question? So I would just now wrap up by saying that, let me bring back the presentation that we had, so that we have gone through the example of Sanjay Bhai Tilwa. We went through the example of Ramji Bhai, Bhimaji Bhai Parmar. और उनका बड़ा अच्छा अनुभव है, बहुत अनुभवी है। अभी सात्विक ट्रेडिशनल फूड फेस्टिवल होगा, उसमें वो हर साल आते हैं, इस साल भी आएंगे 23 दिसंबर से 26 दिसंबर तक। If any one of you would like to visit Ahmedabad, we will host you, and you can stay at my place and visit this festival. A lot of farmer innovators will come. Gyan is organizing an exhibition also of the innovation. There'll be traditional food from Sikkim, from Nagaland, from Jammu Kashmir, different places. And of course, there'll be organic farmers. So we have gone through this. I just want to come back to the last, this matrix that where from we began to do the poll and looked at. Do you wish, I mean, Saurabh, can you put the poll again? Would people like to change their opinion? Or without poll also we can ask. आप में से किसका मन बदलेगा अभी, या सबको लगता है कि जो आपने डिसीजन लिया था वही रहेगा अभी? After hearing everybody, listening to their motivations, why they are doing it, they are serving the way they are doing, have your thoughts undergone some change, or they are same about incentives for innovation and diffusion? Anybody, please? I want to hear some of you. This machine Aarti is for groundnut just now, but he's saying it can be done for soybean. Sorry, not soybean, for turmeric एंड जिंजर के लिए भी उन्होंने इसको यूज करने की कोशिश की है. एक फार्मर ने बताया, इनको नहीं मालूम था, लेकिन एक फार्मर ने इसको टर्मरिक जिंजर के लिए और टर्मरिक के लिए यूज किया है.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Any other question that you have? I can call Sanjay again, not a problem. Or anybody else you want to ask? They're all available for the time being. सब लोग अभी हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, सिक्किम से, गुजरात से, उड़ीसा से, और गुजरात से 2 लोग हैं. एक उड़ीसा से जुड़े थे आज हमारे साथ, प्रफुल्ल भाई, बरगढ़ डिस्ट्रिक्ट से, और विकेश्वर जी जुड़े थे सिक्किम से, वेस्ट सिक्किम से, गेजिंग से, गेजिंग के पास उनका गांव. तो we will try, and if you wish to meet more of them, we can do that. It is essentially just a spectrum of sophistication. मतलब आपको थोड़ा अंदाजा हो गया आज that apart from very small, simple solution gadgets, they can also make very complicated design. जो संजय ने बनाया वो बहुत ही complex machine है, बहुत सारे functions हैं उसके अंदर जिसको integrate किया उन्होंने, and he is able to deliver the services to the people. This is the capability. हाँ चंचल, sorry, आपने कुछ सवाल किया? Anybody has any question before we proceed, before we wrap up for the day? किसी को कोई सवाल पूछना है, कोई कमेंट है?
सर
हाँ देवरंजन, फिर मैं आता हूँ उसके बाद. हाँ बोलो देवरंजन.
Thank you, sir, for this classes as well. Actually, I am asking this question, or I think we have some queries. I am from Wildlife Institute of India, and I'm asking because this is the very first time, not first time actually, we are the batch of 3 semesters who have joined, जो हमने ज्वाइन किया है AcSIR में PhD कोर्सेज के लिए. और ये सोसाइटल कोर्स के जो भी है, ये हमारे लिए एक तरफ से देखा जाए तो बहुत ही मतलब हमारे लिए एक आई ओपनर भी था कि हाँ ऐसे बहुत सारी चीजें हो रहा है. लेकिन जिस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में डॉक्टर अनामिका ने भी वो शेयर किया है, उन्होंने प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट और बाकी जो भी हमने देखा, तो वो शायद हमारे मतलब हम अपनी तरफ से सोच रहे हैं, तो शायद हमारा जो भी वर्क प्रोफाइल है, जो कुछ भी है, उससे थोड़ा सा हटके है. तो रिगार्डिंग दैट, अगर आपके तरफ से कोई ऐसे सजेशन कि हम मतलब बीइंग कि जो हमारा, क्योंकि जो हमारा फील्ड है वो बहुत ज्यादा से प्रैक्टिकल फील्ड, मतलब जिसमें प्रैक्टिकल एप्लीकेबिलिटी है नहीं, उस
अरे
हिसाब
भाई
से
है देवरंजन, है हमारे पास बहुत क्वेरीज आ रही हैं कि फार्मर्स का और वाइल्ड लाइफ के कन्फ्लिक्ट को कैसे मैनेज किया जाए.
एक्चुअली
अभी
सर
परसों मेरे पास क्वेरी आई है कि भाई हम लोग मारना नहीं चाहते हैं, हमको कैसे मैनेज करना है, हमें प्रैक्टिसेस भेजो, क्योंकि जो कन्फ्लिक्ट है, टेंशन बढ़ती जा रही है. तो मैंने उनको बताया कि कर्नाटका में जहाँ एरिका नट की खेती होती है, वहां पर लोग, वाइल्ड बोर आता है वहां से जंगल से, तो उसको रोकने के लिए कुछ लोग गांव के बाहर उसकी पसंद की सब्जियां और फल लगा देते हैं, भैया तू भी खा ले और हमारी फसल को छोड़ दे. तो
जी
मतलब
सर.
इसके अंदर बहुत सारी इनोवेशंस हो रही हैं देवरंजन.
नहीं सर, मैं असल में पूछना चाहता हूँ कि अगर हम लोग ये कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को लेके या तो फिर किसी ऐसे एस्पेक्ट को लेके करेंगे, वेदर दैट वुड बी
जहाँ सोसाइटी इन्वॉल्व है ना, उन इश्यूज को ले लो कि कैसे. अब जो जसोर बालाराम सेंचुरी की हमने स्टडी की थी, वहां भी यही प्रॉब्लम है कि जो रीच है, भालू है, वो कई बार नीचे आ जाते हैं पानी के लिए, क्योंकि उनके सेंचुरी में तो पानी की व्यवस्था नहीं की गई ढंग से. या उनके जो हमने जंगल में, तो आपको मालूम है, लोग टिम्बर ट्रीज लगा देते हैं, फ्रूट ट्रीज तो लगाते नहीं है. तो उनको तो जाने खाने हैं फल तो मिलता नहीं उनको, फिर तो बाहर जाएंगे ना वो.
जी.
तो इन चीजों को स्टडी करो. जो खास तौर पे जो
नहीं सर,
कंफ्लिक्ट
वही
का
था।
इशू है, जो
थैंक यू।
कंफ्लिक्ट का इशू है, इसको स्टडी करो।
बिल्कुल सर। और सर एक क्वेश्चन और था सर।
हाँ बोलिए।
सर ये जो 20 से लेके 22 तक जो प्रेजेंटेशन का है और
हाँ।
जो रिपोर्ट प्रिपरेशन, इन दोनों के टाइमलाइन का मतलब टाइमलाइन तो
प्रेजेंटेशन
प्रेजेंटेशन
रिपोर्ट में आप 2-3 महीने लीजिए, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है।
अच्छा।
अगर आपको जरूरत है तो मैं प्रभात से प्रभात अभी हो तुम क्या है लाइन पर, हम लोग कर लेंगे, उसकी कोई चिंता मत करिए आप।
जी सर।
उसमें हमको मालूम है कि 2-3 महीने से कम में आप नहीं कर पाएंगे अच्छा प्रोजेक्ट।
हाँ।
लेकिन जो प्रेजेंटेशन है साइनॉप्सिस का, वो तो आपको इन 3 दिन में सभी को करना चाहिए।
अच्छा सर, और ग्रुप में से कोई एक उसको प्रेजेंट करेगा सर?
हाँ, लेकिन बाकी लोग रहने चाहिए ना उसमें। और मैंने एक बात कही थी, मैं फिर दोहराऊंगा कि जब आपका प्रेजेंटेशन खत्म हो गया तो आप चले मत जाना
बिल्कुल
भाई।
सर, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
हाँ, औरों का भी सुनते रहना, ठीक है ना।
जी सर, धन्यवाद सर।
हाँ। संजय, शिल्पी का क्वेश्चन था कि क्या वो फसलें जैसे दाल की फसलें हैं, सोयाबीन है, वो तो जमीन के नीचे नहीं ऊपर आती हैं, तो उनकी पिकिंग का भी कुछ है तरीका इस मशीन में, या अलग है बनेगी इसके लिए? नहीं, आवाज नहीं आई तो मुझे फोन करो, मेरे को फोन करो, मेरे को फोन करो। हाँ, और कोई सवाल इन द मीनवाइल? की एक बहन कुछ पूछ रही थी, बच्ची एक, बोलो बेटे। वन ऑफ यू वाज आस्किंग। हाँ बोलो। हाँ चल, हाँ चेक चना ठीक है। So that's the reply. You got it. That's very interesting. वही सवाल पूछा था उन्होंने, ठीक है ना। हाँ, अभी बने रहो, थोड़ा सुनते रहो। हाँ, और कोई प्रश्न? एनीबडी हैज एनी अदर कमेंट? प्रिया, आई डोंट वांट टू शेयर द प्रेजेंटेशन, आई विल मेक कोल्ड कॉल। मैं किसी को भी किसी दिन बुला लूंगा, तो आप लोग तैयार रहिए तीनों दिन। क्या ख्याल है, ऐसे कराएं क्या? और तरीका है कोई? रैंडम नंबर से चलेंगे? नहीं तो आप लोग क्या करोगे, पहले दिन जिसका आ गया उस बाकी 2 दिन गायब हो जाएगा। ऐसा होता है ना। बाय नाउ आई हैव बीन टीचिंग 40 years, आई नो व्हाट यू डू। तो इसलिए कोशिश तो करूंगा कि आप लोग तीनों दिन रहें, क्योंकि बाकी को आप फीडबैक देना चाहिए ना। आप सुनोगे नहीं तो आप दूसरों को फीडबैक नहीं दोगे, तो ऐसा थोड़ी चलता है मैं खाली फीडबैक दूंगा या अनामिका फीडबैक देगी। तो इसलिए हमारा सजेशन है कि आप तीनों दिन रहिए प्लीज, टेक टाइम ऑफ, बिकॉज यू हैव टू हेल्प अदर्स ऑल्सो टू इम्प्रूव देयर प्रोजेक्ट। हो सकता है आपको कुछ रेफरेंसेज मालूम हो, आपको कुछ कनेक्ट मालूम हो जो आप उनको सजेस्ट कर सकते हैं। इट इज ऑल्सो पॉसिबल, इट हैज हैपेंड द प्रीवियस ईयर दैट यू मे डायरेक्ट टू जॉइन समबडीज प्रोजेक्ट। आपको लगता है मेरे प्रोजेक्ट से अच्छा उनका प्रोजेक्ट है, मेरे को ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट आ रहा है, मैं उसको ज्वाइन कर लेती हूँ। कर लो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है इसके अंदर। वी वुड लाइक दैट फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी टू बी देयर। आप सुनोगे नहीं तो आपको कैसे पता चलेगा कि कौन सा प्रोजेक्ट आपको ज्यादा अच्छा लग रहा है। These are tentative, please understand, these synopses are tentative, you can modify them in consultation with us। ऐसा नहीं है कि आपने कह दिया तो बस वो पत्थर की लकीर हो गई, इसको चेंज नहीं कर सकते, कर सकते हैं इफ यू कम टू थिंक ऑफ, बट दे मस्ट हैव अ सोसाइटल कनेक्ट, दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, उसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है, ठीक है ना। एनी अदर कमेंट, क्वेश्चन? एनीबडी हैज एनी क्वेश्चन, कमेंट बिफोर वी क्लोज? तो संजय ठीक है, थैंक यू।
Thank you so much.
और thank you everybody, and we will meet tomorrow at 5:30 and we'll look at the public policy issues. I would wish that you bring some case studies where you are facing some challenges of how to adapt the policy. It is not aligned to your solution. हाँ बोलिए बोलिए।
Sir, I am Sayun from CSIR same year, right?
बोलो बोलो।
Sir, I just wanted to ask that the classes which we did were mainly based on like pure science approaches, not like engineering aspects mainly.
क्यों आज हमने इंजीनियरिंग की हो सकती है, क्यों नहीं सकती?
Despite of sir the groundnut digger, which is very good. Sir, so I just wanted to ask कि आपके अकॉर्डिंग क्या सजेशंस हो सकते हैं एज एन इंजीनियरिंग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू जिसमें हम लोग प्रोजेक्ट कर सके?
देखिए ऐसा है, राइट फ्रॉम वेरी सिंपल ऑफ वाटर फिल्टर, धीमा जी के लिए जो है दुर्गापुर में आपके इंस्टीट्यूट है, धीमा जी इज इन असम, और वहां पर आयरन, बहुत पानी का आयरन रिच वाटर है वहां पर, ठीक है ना। अभी तक किसी ने भी कोई ढंग का वाटर फिल्टर नहीं बनाया उनके लिए। So this has both elements. Water filter has mechanical element, but it also has little bit of chemistry. ठीक है ना। तो आपके यहाँ तो काफी कुछ हुआ है, आपके यहाँ सीवेज मॉनिटरिंग का भी काम हुआ है। मैं जब आया था आपके यहाँ लास्ट टाइम, तो आई हैड सीन दैट डिवाइस दैट यू हैड मेड। तो ऐसा कुछ करो कि जो सोसाइटी के लिए एप्लीकेबल हो. I mean, for example, the rag pickers and the people who collect the waste, solid waste, I mean, their
Yes,
situation
sir.
is applicable. There is no devices for them. There is no even semi-automatic or devices for them. So can we develop some solutions to at least raise their status one step ahead? अभी क्या है, या तो बहुत बड़ी मशीनें हैं which obviate the need for worker, or there are no tools. They are
Yes,
still
sir.
using. They don't even have gloves on them. आपने देखा होगा सुबह जब कूड़ा इकट्ठा करते हैं ना शहरों के अंदर, बहुत बुरी हालत है
Yes,
उनकी.
sir.
So if you have interest in sanitation issue, can you develop some solutions by which at least loading on the truck can become less, it can become more dignified. So you can think of problems that people are facing for which mechanical solutions are required at different degrees of complexity. And we will leave
Yes,
it
sir.
to you as to which problem you say. But if you want to discuss, we can have separate discussion also. You send me a mail and you tell me what time suits you, and then I'll try to adjust. Okay, na? And Anamika will be happy to meet. So we
Okay.
encourage you to think of chemical, biological, mechanical, engineering, electronic, different kinds of projects, obviously.
Or sir,
Which,
sir, sorry to interrupt you, sir.
bole.
Sir, my team, which we are doing the project together, 5 people. Sir, we have like 2 mechanical engineers, 2 electric energy engineers, and 1 remote sensing.
Uh-huh.
तो हम लोग ये चाहते हैं कि हम लोग ट्रैकिंग एज वेल एज मिटिगेशन के ऊपर ध्यान दें. थ्रू वेलराइजेशन ऑफ द मिटिगेशन ऑफ द वेस्ट, थ्रू वेलराइजेशन ऑफ द वेस्ट.
नहीं, वो ठीक है, लेकिन उसमें आप कोशिश यही करो कि जैसे अभी आई वाज चेयरिंग ए कमिटी ऑफ CII ऑन 3R, so a lot of awards were to be given. We evaluated a lot of solutions by companies and individuals. Now,
Yes,
there are not many solutions for housing societies. तो मान लीजिए कि 200 लोग 300 लोग एक सोसाइटी में रहते हैं, उनके पास प्रोसेसिंग के लिए छोटी यूनिट्स नहीं है अभी भी, ठीक है ना. सो वेस्ट टू एनर्जी
Yes, sir.
जनरेशन के वेस्ट टू एनर्जी जनरेशन का अगर छोटा काम कर, बड़े बड़े प्लांट तो बहुत है देश में, छोटी मशीनें नहीं
Yes, sir.
है. सो थिंक ऑफ स्मॉल स्केल सॉल्यूशंस which
Definitely,
ordinary
sir. Definitely.
which settlements of different communities can use. So that will be very useful.
Sir,
Even our
we have
labs
a
don't
plan to
have
show
that.
you, sir. So we are planning the same, and we will show you, sir, something like that.
Wonderful. Any other question? Pinky, did you have something? You were talking
Sir.
something. Bolo. Farhan, bolo.
Yeah, sir, I have one question.
Hmm.
Sir, time allotted for each presentation will
About
be how much?
about 5 minutes, let us say 1 or 2 minutes for presentation, well, for questions. But my request to all of you is, when somebody presents, don't go into the detail, don't explain इतने देश में इतनी सारी प्रॉब्लम है, ये सब जानते हैं कितनी बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है. आप तो सीधा पॉइंट पे आ जाओ कि ये प्रॉब्लम है, दिस इज व्हाट आई वांट टू डू, सो दैट यू कैन गेट मोर फीडबैक फ्रॉम अदर्स. ठीक है ना. बहुत ज्यादा कंटेक्स्ट बनाने की जरूरत नहीं है, बिकॉज ऑल ऑफ यू आर स्मार्ट, ऑल ऑफ यू विल अंडरस्टैंड द प्रॉब्लम इन अ फ्यू मिनट्स. तो उसका जस्टिफिकेशन वो सब प्रोजेक्ट में करते रहना, प्रेजेंटेशन में अभी जरूरत नहीं ज्यादा देने की. So you can save the time and spend more time after definition of the problem to how you want to address it.
Sir, I have one question.
Bolo Aman.
So this is Aman. Sir, I'm also team member of Sion from CSIR CMERI. Sir, my field is remote sensing and JAS. तो sir, do I I wanna say कि मैं कोई ऐसा काम कर सकती हूँ जैसे irrespective of my field, say in basically
Sure. One of the report that Anamika sent was on, for example, mental health. ठीक है ना. अब आप में से कोई भी mental health के expert तो नहीं है, लेकिन ये problem students की बहुत serious है.
जी.
Including some of your colleagues. ठीक है ना.
जी.
So we allowed them to do that because they बोल के हमको बहुत परेशानी है सर, हम लोग स्टडी करना चाहते हैं because we have seen our colleagues suffering from that problem. तो हमने कहा करो भाई, क्योंकि प्रॉब्लम तो सीरियस है ही है, मतलब इट्स at a national level, societal level, and if you want to understand it deeply, अगर mental health नहीं होगी तो क्या करेंगे जिंदगी में, कुछ नहीं कर सकते. So sometimes it is possible to go beyond your discipline, and if you want to do mapping using the satellite data, I don't know whether anybody has done that, कि कहाँ पर waste के ज़्यादा heaps हैं. A lot of people dispose of the waste in unexpected places in
actually
the
we are
night.
planning something like that only. in Ludhiana district as well. Say the landfill sites, and we want to suggest that where is the perfect site for the landfilling, the perfect site
नहीं,
for
लैंडफिल को जस्टिफाई मत करो, लैंडफिल को जस्टिफाई मत करो, लैंडफिल को जस्टिफाई मत करो. There is no scientific concept called as landfill. Landfill is no scientific concept. All low-lying areas are drainage channels of the earth, and once you choke the drainage channel, the earth dies. I mean, the city dies, the community dies. तो लैंडफिल का कोई जस्टिफिकेशन नहीं है बच्चे, ये तो सिर्फ हम लोग मजबूरी में सहन कर रहे हैं. बट एज ए मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट देयर इज नो कंसेप्ट ऑफ लैंडफिल. लैंडफिल इज unscientific, completely unscientific. You are putting waste somewhere, clogging the flow of the drainage, you know. Landfill is nothing but low-lying areas को आपने आइडेंटिफाई. low-lying areas, low-lying अभी लो वाटर बॉडी नहीं, इसलिए छोटी सी बारिश में फ्लड आ जाता है ना अभी, क्योंकि हमने भर दिया सब low-lying areas को. So Amanpreet, don't give justification for landfill, please.
All right, sir.
That's not sustainable. That is not socially desirable.
All
कर
right,
रहे हैं लोग, ठीक है. That's an unfortunate reality of life, but I don't want you to contribute to that problem more. ठीक है ना?
Sure.
Anybody else has any question? We will.
Sir, I have one doubt or clarification. Like now we are doing some presentations in a group form for societal this thing. But at lab level also, for example, CSIO, Chandigarh, we are doing some parallel activity on the name of 800, course 800. And there also we are making one presentation, first proposal, then final presentation.
नहीं, ये presentations आपके जो 4 क्रेडिट का कोर्स है उसमें काम आएंगे.
तो ये अलग है, वो अलग है?
नहीं, अलग नहीं है. इसी कोर्स के अंदर आप जो प्रोजेक्ट करेंगे, they will be counted towards your social project requirement.
So we need not do that.
मतलब you do any one, but in this course, since we are going to discuss your synopsis, if you want to present that and if we are willing to modify that in the light of feedback, by all means do that.
Okay.
But there is no need to do different projects. It is
why
same.
My question is, sir,
ACSIR has accepted it, and most labs have accepted it, that as a part of this course, whatever projects are done will be counted towards your 4 credit requirement.
Okay, because in why I am asking this question, because in our CSIO we have already given one proposal couple of months back, and
नहीं दे दिया तो कोई बात नहीं, but you can, you know, I mean, I don't know how much work you have done on that, but if you are amenable to suggestion and modification, you and if it has a strong societal connection, present it again, and we'll see.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Otherwise, do bring in your questions tomorrow, and we will answer every single question that you have. Good luck to you. Thank you, Ramaji Bhai. Thank you, Sanjay Bhai. Thank you, Praful Bhai, Satyavati जी, और किसको भूल गया मैं, अभिषेकर भाई, अभिषेकर जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आप सबका, चारों का. आपकी वजह से सबको काफी प्रेरणा मिली. धन्यवाद. गॉड ब्लेस. भगवान आपको शक्ति दे और ज्यादा अच्छा काम करने की. ठीक है. गुड नाइट.
थैंक यू सर.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. संजय, आपके काम ने बहुत इंस्पायर किया लोगों को आज. धन्यवाद. 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 धन्यवाद.
कितना क्यूट लगा.
मम्मी